Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to your second annual Say Report Oscar preview. I'm your host, Devin Decker. Joining me, as always, is my host compatriot, Sejan Sarowick.
I was going to wait and see how long you could get our guest to speak before I spoke. But
No, because I'm proud that we have a guest. And joining us for the first time at Say Report headquarters, ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for Jeff Hibbert.
I really thought that the Say Report headquarters wouldn't be shaped like the words Say Report headquarters, but geez, like, I don't know where you guys bought this building, but all right.
we're not very imaginative. That was the real problem, is they came to us and asked for designs, and we just couldn't think of anything. There's a reason we don't do theater anymore, Jeff.
Yeah.
Sejan, you also sent them the wrong picture. You sent them our logo.
Shh. There's no blame here. We are all to blame.
I don't think I'm to blame. I just walked in and said something. I mean, I did take a straw and I was firing spitballs at your secretary, but I mean, whatever.
Do you remember that moment when Jeff said, I'm probably going to be quiet while you guys just do your thing? I remember that moment.
Well, okay, that's going to be, I mean, for the intro, I'm just going to make up whatever the hell I want, but when you guys are talking, I'm probably just going to do it.
No, this is awesome, man.
I swear I don't normally sound like this. I'm on day 27 of a protracted illness. In fact,
I'm on year 30-something of a...
Yeah. In fact, I should take one of these extra strength cough drops I got. Hey, let's get some nice Foley.
Oh, look at that Foley work.
Added to the record, man. I love it.
Crap. Well, hang on. I haven't started this back yet, but let's do it.
All right.
So while Jeff does some beautiful Foley work, and I'm going to ruin it by saying, so as you say, there's 3 of us this year, so the Oscar preview is going to change a little bit. Our merit no longer matters. It doesn't matter what we think should win. Our judging will only be based on what will win. What Oscar will say is the best.
Lest you think this is us becoming cynical, no. It's because we wanted to have more friends on this show. We didn't give it up because we've given up on that hope of the world. I just want to make sure that's clear.
Yes.
It's a show that always wants to promote the most hopeful outcome ever. There are definitely ones that we want to see win, and we will probably talk about them throughout the weeks coming on the show and stuff. But yeah, tonight we're going to try and stick to the science.
Well, before we proceed, I should probably say that the only award ceremony that I have more loathing for than the Oscars is the Razzies, because and this is something I want to do someday, is to go and look at what they've awarded things to, the Razzies specifically, and just show that they're actually the only ones that are more full of crap. I forget, can we swear on this podcast?
Yes, you can say whatever the fuck you want. You can't say the N-word. You can't say the N-word.
Well, I'm not going to say that, for God's sake.
But that's pretty much the only rule that we have. We're like Outback, except there's one rule.
One rule.
Well, I mean,
Outback,
that's why everyone calls each other the C word, because it's Australian.
They
use that the way that people around here use the word "the" or ending things in an AH sound.
I will have to say that I am a fan of your idea of going back and looking at Razzies, and I love that after 5 seconds of being on the show, you have also begun to pitch spin-offs of the Say Report. That is true Say reporting right there.
I suppose that could be a podcast idea, just to. Okay, what did looking for the entire year? What did the Razzies nominate, and why is it top to bottom nonsense?
Because why was Mother nominated? That's what I want to know. Mother wasn't great, but can you honestly call
I didn't
Jennifer
see Mother
Lawrence?
because it probably was going to be too gruesome for me. But also, I'm like, don't kick a guy for trying. If you're going to kick Darren Aronofsky for something, even The Fountain, I'm like, look, I hate The Fountain, but worst of the year, I'm like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, so we should also start to get a feel for our guest here, and so as we've seen right here, I was just about to chime in and talk about how much I love The Fountain.
Oh,
so this is gonna be awesome. This is gonna be a fantastic conversation.
Sejan, you don't love The Fountain. You love Hugh Jackman.
No. Maybe.
Well, okay. Well, what about do you like The Greatest Showman then? Did you like that too?
No. I Greatest Showman was fun. Also, you got to understand my love for Zac Efron. That's a loaded conversation right there. But no, it's not like my love for. Okay, I hated Australia. Let's put that out there. Right?
Everybody hated Australia,
and that's Hugh Jackman.
Chaz Luhrmann hated Australia. It all on. You kidding me?
Yeah. All right. So yeah, Oscars 2018, 2017. I forget. How did
2018.
All right.
No, 17.
No, yeah, but it's called the 2018 Oscars.
Okay, it's the 90th. We'll say that.
Yes, the 90th Oscars. Before we get started, gentlemen, you have a very important decision to make. Jeff, do you want to be the red pen or the blue pen? You picked the red pen. We
I had a
got
red
Pen
pen.
is.
Yes. Nice topical reference there.
1996. It happened
Jim Carrey is always topical.
on the Say Report. Unfortunately, yes. So we'll go with red for you, Jeff.
Cool.
Siege, and
I
that means
had a
that
red pen at work for like the first 7 years I worked at the job I'm at, and I actually ran it all the way out, and I was very proud.
I don't think I've ever got to the end of like a Bic pen. I think that I just lose them and then find somebody else's. Isn't that like the agreement?
That's like
that
the
we
only
all just
time
give
I've been
each
able to
other
pull it
Bic
off.
Pens?
yeah,
Oh, man.
I've ended like the lives of 4 to 5 pens, but that's being a secretary for you.
Mm.
All right, man. So,
All right.
how are we
without-
doing this?
so what we're going to do is we're going to go from the bottom to the top. That means we'll be starting at visual effects and going all the way to Best Picture, which I think is pretty much how they do it at the Oscars, except they give out like supporting actress first and then they do that. It's weird that they start with supporting actress every year.
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably some research marketing from like 50 years ago when they first put it on TV that they've never gone back to look at because Hollywood is not great at being reflexive sometimes.
I think I know what it is. It's because they expected that all the supporting actress nominees had to go home to take care of their children back when they formulated this. So they're like, oh gosh, you have to go home and nurse your 16-year-old child.
We have to get these women out of here fast.
Yeah. Well, that way you can bring in the floozies.
There you go. Those actresses. Oh god.
I'm not saying no, they're not the floozies. They're gone.
He's saying
You
that
bring
once the supporting actresses go, we can bring in the prostitutes.
I didn't
with
say
regards to Meryl
prostitute, I
Streep,
just said floozy. A floozy is one
Devin has
who
to
you don't know whether or not someone else is paying her, but she seems DTF, as they said back in the 30s, I do believe. Isn't that lady there is DTF? Like, I'm like, oh, what's that mean? I can't say it in polite company.
I don't know
Who's
whether or not I
actually
want to
swears?
dive into this bit or divorce myself completely from.
I'm enjoying watching his wheel spin. It's enjoyable.
So let's do this, homies.
Down to floozy. I believe that's what TTF stood for. And we're done.
Yes,
Moving
down to
on.
flues. Down to flues.
All
The
right.
act of floozing.
So for each category, we're going to name the nominees, and then we're going to give you our choices after a bit of spirited discussion. So
Are we going
starting
to
from... Yep.
Talking, we're gonna name all the people too. Like all the visual effects have like several people.
Oh,
in it.
no.
We're gonna skip all those
No,
names.
we're going to skip
Okay.
over those.
Screw
If
you,
wanna-
Dan Lemon. And now people are gonna be, why is that funny? It's like he's one of the guys nominated for War of the Planet of the Apes. It's like, all right.
Promise you.
And I
Promise
actually
you.
have friends in the visual effects industry, so I probably shouldn't be making fun.
Yeah, but it was a good bit.
Back
I'm not
to-
going to
yeah.
lie. And come on, of the people listed, Dan Lemon, he's probably the one who's got some skeletons in his closet.
Possibly, or some lemons.
And now I'm dead. All right, so for visual effects, we have Blade Runner 2049, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Kong, Skull Island, Star Wars The Last Jedi, or War for the Planet of the Apes.
All right, so here's the thing. I'm gonna, at the top of all of these, just to be fair to the audience, I'm gonna chime in. And Jeff, don't feel obligated to do this because you're a guest. I'm only doing this because, like, I put my foot in my mouth onto this stuff. I want people to know what I have seen and what I haven't, because unlike you, I have not been able to make the ability to see. I've not had the opportunity to see all of these wonderful films this year. So to start off with,
I have seen all of them, so
No.
it is this. So
okay.
I'll mention if
Yeah,
there's a gap in
there you
my
go.
repertoire.
All right, but for these, out of these 5, I have not had the opportunity or honestly desire to see Kong Skull Island. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong on that. And then War of the Planet of the Apes, I haven't seen yet. I am super interested in it because I actually love the other remakes. So, like, I don't know
What's
if
your
I'm going to
problem
like this
with
one.
monkeys?
Is that what I did? Oh no, that's
Yeah.
exactly what I did.
Uh-oh.
Dude, that is, yeah,
secret-
that's... oof.
Secret monkey prejudice sneaking up on you.
No. I'm so close to monkeys that I hate to see them portrayed in this way in film. How
To
about
be
that?
fair, they're apes, and by calling them monkeys, you're only losing the battle.
Yeah, but I grew up in a zoo with monkeys. So that's what we used.
We just called each other monkey.
Yeah.
It was the
Oh,
time, you
God.
understand?
It was
This is
Kevin Costner
dangerously
came out
close.
and his daughter died. Doesn't
So-
drop that reference.
Dude, can
So
I
how do we-
tell you?
where do you wanna
No,
go
but
with this?
before we go forward, Mister, put my foot in my mouth. You missed what I would say are the 2 best of the visual effects films.
Really?
Yeah,
Well,
Okay, talk to me.
I think Guardians of the Galaxy has the best, but I'll just say that. But go for it. Well, it's not saying that I think what I think is going to win. By the way.
No. I think I'm just talking like as a movie. I'm not talking just straight visual effects. Kong Skull Island was such a breath of fresh air. I thought it was just going to be another cash in, like all these other remakes, and that one.
No, it's so particular. It's so. It's almost like personal because it's just such an odd duck of a movie. It's just so arch that it's a sort of movie that only gets made by someone who's like, I want to make this kind of movie.
If you were going to tell me, if you were going to pick one person to be like the heavy behind it, actor, director, creative, like producer or something, like who is the heavy behind it?
Oh, Jordan Voight Roberts, without question.
Is that the name?
That's the name of the director.
What else would I know him from?
He only did one other film so far called The Kings of Summer. That was excellent. That's
Jesus,
the reason why I rushed out to see Kong Skull Island, because I saw The Kings of Summer. I drove all the way to Middletown, Connecticut. It was the only theater around here playing it, and I lapped it up. So much so that the day it came out on DVD, I bought it and watched it twice.
Kong Skull Island or the summer one?
No,
Sorry,
Kings of Summer.
Right. Kings of Summer. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that the one, Kings of Summer, is that the one with Offerman in it, Nick Offerman?
Yeah, Nick Offerman and Megan Mullally.
I am remembering. Okay, yes. That is how I am aware of that movie. Okay. I have not seen it, but Offerman and Mullally being involved is why I'm aware of that film. All right. So let me put this thought out there. I have no interest in Star Wars winning this. I don't think it should nor would. I think Blade Runner. That's where I'm at. So I'm just going to start that conversation.
Is Blade Runner your choice? Should I mark that down? Okay.
No, Blade Runner is what I think will win this one, and I think it will because of the nostalgia factor and the fact that it built on that nostalgia. Like not only are they cashing in on the nostalgia of Blade Runner, but on top of that, it actually does a really good job of actually elevating that style. I mean, a lot of it is because of the advancement in technologies that we have now that they just didn't have back then. But I think that Blade Runner looks amazing and also looks really well done. And it's the only one on this list where we kind of, well, Guardians might fall into this too, but Blade Runner more because of the nostalgia factor. Blade Runner is the only one we went in expecting a specific style. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I didn't see Blade Runner, so I don't have much to say. Jeff?
Oh, man.
Well, are you going to say your choice?
Oh, yeah, I guess I'll give my choice. I'm going with Kong Skull Island. Just because of the movies here, it was the one that was sort of ground in reality. Like it was our world of the Vietnam era, and it didn't feel too fantastic. None of the CGI seemed out of place. It all felt very natural and very real, and I loved that. Nothing was jarring. Nothing made me go, I didn't question anything. So
there was
no Jar Jar.
Yeah, there was no Jar Jar. There was no gravity in space. Like.
Yeah, well, okay, and so let me throw this thing out there too, because I think actually every movie on this list kind of falls into this. Blade Runner kind of had something to like build up to, and I think it did it with the best style. Like, I don't think Star Wars had enough style to it, which is why I don't think that it works. And Guardians has style all the way, but I think its style was put much more towards its like all rather than its pieces. So I don't think that it quite elevates itself above Blade Runner. I think one of the things about Blade Runner that I love so much is because I actually didn't love every piece of it, but man, the style of the visual effects was like, that's the thing it has going for it. So playing by Jeff's rules, this is what I'm getting at. The idea that we're looking at the things that we think the Academy is actually going to go with rather than what we think deserves it. I think Blade Runner gets it because this is the category for it. I think Guardians might have other places where it works for people, and this isn't necessarily it.
The way you're describing it, I actually would think perhaps you would then rather nominate it for production design, because as far as that goes, that's what I would think. But I don't think it's going to win both. But I would go out and say my answer now because I believe. Okay, if you want to ask me what the best special effects are, it's somewhere either between Guardians, or which has Rocket and Groot as entirely, especially Rocket as entirely like. Included in the thing. You never really question that this little guy is like a real thing, and he has all these moments of like, these moments of real, of emotion and stuff, and it's like, wow, this is crazy.
Well, and Groot is like one of the greatest, like one of the most loved characters in the entire Marvel universe, and he completely is CGI, right? Like, you're not.
I mean, there's a guy standing there in the background.
Oh, sure.
But they take him out. But and then the other one is Wolf of Planet of the Apes, which is obviously incredibly compelling and perfect thing, but I don't think they're going to give it to that one because of the whole fight between the motion capture, the performance capture, and the visual effects artists.
Yeah, the
So they're
ongoing
gonna
fight
keep fighting, and they're gonna keep taking away from them. And when they give it visual effects, it's gonna be a big thing. So I think they're going to hedge their bets and give it to Blade Runner, which is also an excellent looking movie, and with visual effects that never really let up, and are pretty much flawless. So yeah, that's my choice to be Blade Runner.
I think Blade Runner, this is where they honor it. And I think Guardians is one of those movies that they'd love to honor, but just doesn't fit in for them.
Also,
Maybe with Guardians 3, they'll pull a Lord of the Rings on that one and give it 12 Oscars. How amazing would that be for Bradley Cooper and Vin Diesel to get Oscars for that, for supporting actor?
Oh my god. Just for James Gunn, just to even get a nomination as a best director would be amazing.
That would be. I mean, he's really one of our good ones.
All right. So after one category, Jeff and Sejan will probably have points, and I won't, because they backed Blade Runner 2049, and I backed Kong.
They could
Skull
still
Island.
give it. This could go almost any way. I'm just sort of hedging my bets. Blade Runner.
That's true. This is actually a really tight category, all in all.
And if they gave it to Star Wars, I wouldn't necessarily be upset, except for the fact that I want Star Wars to walk away with nothing, the same way that Episode 7 walked away with nothing. I think that would be grand, but we'll see.
Hey, Devin.
Yes.
Talk to me about Beauty and the Beast's costume design, because we had a real big conversation about Beauty and the Beast at the beginning of this year, and I'm real interested to hear you talk about it.
I think it's great that Jacqueline Duran is also nominated for Darkest Hour.
Yeah.
Now, how do you feel about the idea of cannibalization? I think in a category this far away from Best Actor, it's not going to be that big of a deal, but I know that it's been a question in the past for people. Like, when people get nominated more than once in a category, they always fear that that's going to split the vote.
So before we go further on that, because it's a good question, for costume design, the nominees are Beauty and the Beast, Darkest Hour, Phantom Thread, The Shape of Water, and Victoria and Abdul.
Yeah, look up a list, you jerks. No, seriously though. Thanks, Devin. And yeah, just to keep up the sequence here. Beauty and the Beast I've actually seen now because it's been out on Netflix. Shape of Water I have fallen in love with, and I have not seen Phantom Thread or Victoria and Abdul. Here's the thing about Darkest Hour. I have seen a supercut of all of Gary Oldman in that, which I guess is a lot of the movie.
What the hell is a supercut of a movie where you just cut in the main character?
No, it's not even. It's not full scenes though. That I should like. That was great.
Big moments of whatever, right?
That's what you mean. It's basically just like a lot of garumps and smoking. From what I can tell.
Here's my supercut of The Matrix where we cut Keanu Reeves in, but we didn't have enough, so we cut in some things from The Devil's Advocate.
I'd watch it, Jeff. Don't make promises you can't keep.
Yeah.
So Darkest Hour I've seen enough of for me to have some feelings about at least the costume design. Phantom Thread and Victoria and Abdul I have not. Shape of Water and Beauty and the Beast I've got some thoughts and theories.
All right. So to first address your question of cannibalization, costume design is the rare category that never has cannibalized itself before.
Okay.
There have been many, many years where someone has been nominated more than once, and they wind up taking away the statue. Because like the Great Gatsby, the woman who was nominated for Great Gatsby, she ended up winning for that, but she was nominated for something else as well. So it seems to be like the Academy understands, and especially with the two choices that Jacqueline Duran is nominated for, I feel if she were going to win, I think she could win it for Darkest Hour. I feel like enough people are smart enough to know which of those you should vote for.
Okay.
And
here's my one theory, though. Is my only thought and theory about all this is that Beauty and the Beast is actually kind of a really important movie. The animated one is a really important movie for the Oscars, and so I don't know if old Hollywood is going to be able to ignore that. Because I actually was thinking Beauty and the Beast, one of the only things this version of that movie had going for it was something like the idea of costume design. I mean, bringing something to life that was animated, like that is the logical next step. And from everything that I feel about that movie, like that's one of the few places I can't knock it.
Once again, though, Sejan, that could go into production design as well, which Beauty and the Beast is also up for.
I don't know because
the sets and things, and the castle and everything else.
but the one key piece to that movie is her yellow
Is
dress.
the yellow dress, yeah.
And they fucking nail it. They fucking nail that dress. So
I don't
that's
mean
the
to be
one
rude,
thing.
but David Howard fucking nailed that dress too.
That's fair.
It's a
That's
yellow
fair.
ball gown.
Let's take a moment. Let's take a moment to say cheers. It's more than a yellow ball gown, and that's the point. And that's why it was so important when David Howard did it, and that's why it's so important that they did it this time. Is this idea that like that dress has to be pitch perfect, and they did it. So like,
Well, I mean, it's going to turn out the CGI though,
I'm not even saying
and
that
that Emma Watson was just walking around naked, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
But they had to cut that out. You can't do that.
At the end
I'd
of the
see a
day,
supercut of that.
Yeah.
costume design wise, I think it has to go to either Darkest Hour or Beauty and the Beast out of these three, to be entirely honest. Darkest Hour being a period piece, that's always a shoe in, and Beauty and the Beast is not only like a period piece, but a period piece with some history behind it. So that's why I think it gets the edge, and I'm going to say Beauty and the Beast.
Alrighty. See, Jeff, do you want to answer here, or do you want me to go first?
You go first because it's something you said threw my answer into question.
Oh, okay. In costume design, I'm going to give it to Phantom Thread, a movie that, like, wasn't a huge fan of. I'll be honest about that. But it is a movie that is about the clothes. So your eyes are watching the clothes. He's a fashion designer. It is forefront in your mind. If they had botched anything, and I was looking for it, right? I have enough costume training to, like, look for anything that was out of place, and nothing stuck out to me. So, like, basically when you're saying, take a look at this, and people acknowledge the costume design in this was good enough to get nominated, I think that they're also going to be smart enough to say it should win the award.
Well, what about that time in Phantom Thread? This might be a spoiler, where he's going around on one of them hoverboards. Like, and sort of going around making these sweeps around the mannequins and such.
You're thinking about How to Be a Latin Lover again, Jeff, and I know that you loved that film.
Why wasn't that nominated for something?
I don't know.
Dang, you're making me sad.
Was it nominated for a Razzie?
It better not have been. I'll go there with a sharpened salami and
Devin, can I
make a protest.
Can I just point out how much I hate it when you make a valid argument against my argument? I really do, because now I'm sitting here thinking about it. But no, I stand by my theory that Beauty and the Beast has just enough of an edge on it. But I didn't consider that stuff with Phantom Thread. Like, the whole idea that is kind of the whole focus of the thing.
Well, see, that's the thing, that was my choice. But I have my document open, I have them bolded. And I actually unbolded it when Devin said, oh, The Great Gatsby won, because I was like, they don't usually give to just regular historical things. Now, The Great Gatsby isn't necessarily just a historical thing. That was very musical and live and whatever. So I had it as Phantom Thread because it was about the costumes, because I figured that's the way that self-congratulatory, masturbatory Oscar works. But since Devin picked that for the same reason, but also then put the seed of doubt in my head as far as a period piece getting it, that isn't flashy, I'm actually going to give it to The Darkest Hour.
Yeah, all right, fingers are crossed.
Yeah, to see if that one gets it, because there's a chance that it did have good costumes, I think.
And part of it is, what do you consider part of the costume for a lot of people? And if
you
really think about it, if you think about it, there are going to be people out there though that is part of the whole shtick for them, and they nailed that. Like, not to give things away, but
there was that point where he had the Che Guevara shirt on, and was kind of like, all right, well, sure. It was young Che Guevara,
but he was doing a keg stand, and it only okay.
It was a remake of Old School. How many times in one podcast can I say something stupid?
Oh my God. No, I love this though. I love that you picked Darkest Hour, because that puts the three of us against each other, and I was hoping that would happen on a few of these. The fact it happened so early is warming my cockles.
If Devin hadn't put the seed of doubt in my head, I probably would have stuck with Phantom Thread. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to go with Darkest Hour.
Sweet.
Excellent. I love it. And that seems to be the perfect transition into makeup and hair, where Darkest Hour is again nominated, as well as Victoria and Abdul, and Wonder.
How much time do you want to spend on? Yeah, how much time do you want to spend on this one before we all give it Darkest Hour?
I mean,
are we going to belabor this one or what?
No, let me do it this way. So, haven't seen Victoria and Abdul. I mentioned that. I have seen Wonder, and I've done my bits and pieces of Darkest Hour. And so I want to just give a shout out to Wonder, because I think that movie deserves any and all of the praise it can get. I'm a sucker for those kinds of movies, though. Like so, go in knowing exactly what you're getting into. Let me put it this way. If you liked The Odd Life of Timothy Green, just go buy a copy of Wonder.
So Owen Wilson doesn't have to kill the thing he loves in that one?
No.
Good.
Is that a spoiler for The Odd Life of Timothy Green?
No, it's a spoiler for Marley and Me,
Oh
which I think you knew.
no, I didn't.
Oh
Well, I
my
mean,
God.
I knew that in Marley and Me the dog dies because it's a movie about a dog. Of course, it dies.
Did you realize
8 Below. They had to change the name to 7 Below. Oh, Snow Dogs. All the dogs are ground up into cat food. Ironically, and the cats start to get a taste for dog, and they're like, "We can't get this in nature. What's going on?"
Wasn't that a PlayStation game at some point? Dogs getting ground up into cat food. Anyway,
Maybe. I mean, there was Abe's Odyssey where they grind up the Modokans into Modokan pies.
look
Really,
it up.
nothing to do with it. It's just on my mind.
So I just want to make sure that we at least mentioned Wonder, and we talked about it for just a hot second. And
I want to mention Wonder because, like, I saw like the trailer for that once or twice, and I wanted to vomit. But it's also that might just be because of Julia Roberts.
Right,
So I've
and
never been able.
and
to,
I
like,
also understand that style of film, shall we say, that genre does not work for like a lot of people, especially people our age, guys our age. But for me, I'm a total sucker for that crap. So Wonder was a fantastic little jaunt out to the film.
But Devin will tell you how much I liked Danny Collins, which is also kind of a schmaltzy movie, but and weirdly just one that sort of came across, you know, it one that connected with me, maybe because it wasn't about little kids or whatever. There was a little kid character.
Yeah.
It's not
No,
just about,
I think Danny Collins is swinging for a more mature audience, shall we say, and so you are the exact person that they were probably like. It's good on you for like enjoying it, but I think that the very specifically the thing about Wonder is it was meant for like 6-year-olds.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna give us a big like shout out, congratulations for talking about Danny Collins.
Well, that's my go-to movie for like good schmaltz because it's like it's not that the movie is so much good or bad, but it is definitely schmaltzy. So
Yeah.
And to say that is not to say it is good or bad. It is describing the quality of it.
Yeah.
And schmaltz, for those who don't know, the technical thing that is based of chicken fat, and it was used in a lot of cuisine. I believe schmaltz is just the Jewish term for it, and some people use it to mean something that you can get a lot of and sort of make something taste good, but isn't really, it's not really substantive. It's been used to describe
it's all taste
cheesy cornball
That's the whole
movies, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
yeah.
All right, but we all put it on the darkest
we
hour,
all land
right?
on.
Yeah, we all go on the darkest
Yeah,
hour.
we all land on darkest hour.
Because the makeup on that one is like you literally can see like occasionally like if he's in like a certain place where it's like wet or he's cold, you see like goose flesh on him and stuff, and it's like the makeup is pretty. It is to a point where it's like, did Gelman just get fat or apparently not?
It's right, exactly. No. What it is it's everybody on that movie was swinging for the fucking fences. You can tell every step of the way that they were trying to make it. They were trying to do the best work they have done in their careers, and I have some unfortunate feelings about that, but we'll get into that stuff later. But like, this is the place where it definitely deserves to be noted for that.
Cool. Moving forward to original song. We have Mighty River from Mudbound, written by Mary J. Blige. Mystery of Love from Call Me By Your Name by Sufjan Stevens. Remember Me from Coco by Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez. Stand Up for Something from Marshall by Diane Warren featuring Common. And This Is Me from The Greatest Showman by Benj Pasek and Justin Paul.
Okay, so again, just to keep up with the pattern here, I have no knowledge of Mighty River. I have passing knowledge of Mystery of Love and Stand Up for Something. I have a lot of knowledge and unfortunately have not seen the movie, so I don't want to like lay claim to that, but Coco is that one. And then there's Greatest Showman, which I've seen. So I definitely have some thoughts and feelings about this stuff, but Devin, where are you landing right now?
All right, so I listened to all of them today. That was my due diligence. I sat down with a YouTube playlist and I listened to all 5 of these songs. Even though going in, I was familiar with 3 of them. I knew Mystery of Love, I knew I knew Remember Me, and I knew This Is Me, right? Before going in, my easy money bet was on Mystery of Love from Call Me By Your Name. Okay. And then I listened to Mighty River and I listened to Stand Up for Something. Stand Up for Something is such a generic song that I can't give it anything. And it doesn't seem to fit. Like, at least the song from Selma that Common was a part of sort of seemed indicative of the era and of the time. I did not feel that way with Stand Up for Something. And Mighty River is like just a great song. Like, it didn't feel like a song written for a movie, but I am sticking by my guns, and without any ado or pomp or circumstance, I'm putting my money on Mystery of Love from Call Me By Your Name, because I went and I saw Call Me By Your Name, and I want to pick it in one of these categories. And of the 4 it's been nominated in, this is the only one I think it would have any chance in.
Remind me, either of you, Sufjan Stevens has recognized in the past at the Oscars, or no?
Younger brother of Cat Stevens.
Right, and in my head, I'm trying to remember if they've ever been to the Oscars before.
As far as I know, no. I did that as well. I checked a lot of the ones where I wasn't sure. I checked for earlier nominations, and that one, as far as I could tell, no. But he's been associated with 24 different acts, so he might have been there as support, but never alone.
Well, and I feel like he's past due in a weird way to be doing a movie song, not even to win an Oscar for it, but just necessarily just to have it, just have one nominated, So I'm curious if that might give him a little bit of a boost, but I might be misremembering. I also have to say that you were talking about Marshall, you were talking about Stand Up for Something being kind of nothing special. I feel like that was that entire experience for me, Marshall, and so I agree with you on that.
I didn't catch it. Did you see it, Devin?
No, I did not. But my mother, she caught it while she was on vacation and has been trying to get me to watch it ever since. And the only reason we haven't is because it's not available anywhere.
Yeah, I feel like that is the zeitgeist around that.
It came out in August, didn't it?
Yeah, I think it was an early one. I think it was an early season.
Is that now the third Chadwick Boseman biopic that he's done after 42 and Stand On Up, whatever it is, the Get On Up?
Yeah, the one where he's what's his
Brown.
name? James Brown. He's
Which I always thought that after he did 3, is he might get stuck as just the biopic guy.
Well, he did that biopic of T'Challa, the king of Wakanda. So you're kind of right.
We've talked about this on the show, man. Marvel breaks patterns. They come in and they're just oh, you look like you might be good at this, and I
think Chadwick Boseman was smart though. Oh, real quick, you can
going to Black Panther real quick. You talk about generic songs or whatever. They had the song at the end of Black Panther, which was Kendrick Lamar, and I'm just for the movie we just had, it's this didn't seem like the kind of song to end it with. It just didn't have the same kind of energy. And what it reminded me of actually is a much, much, much less successful comic book movie, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, where they have that. I think it might have even been a Kendrick Lamar song where they're singing over all the tech that they were showing for all the future bad guys and whatever. Remember Amazing Spider-Man 2 and what a turkey that was?
Man, there are 20 great minutes in that movie. There are 20 really good minutes in that movie.
It's somewhere. I mean,
anything not involving Jamie Foxx is a good movie, and if you cut out 30 minutes more, it's a great movie.
Honestly, the really good fight scene though is the one with Electro in the Times Square though. And he's jumping around doing stuff like that. I thought that was
okay. The fight scene's okay. But we're not getting into this right now. What are we doing? Yeah. We're at the Oscars.
We are at the Oscars, and that movie is 4 years old.
Yeah, movie's 4 years old, terrible, and also I'll bet you it didn't get nominated for any friggin' Razzies, or maybe it was here's Emma Stone, slag one on her.
I like this subplot where we're taking the Razzies to task tonight. I really like that. I
have a deep, unrelenting hate for the Razzies.
So, Jeff, Razzies aside, what are you thinking about for the song here? What are we looking at?
Okay, well, do we have? You said Mystery of Love, right?
Yes, I went with Mystery of Love.
For me, this never wavered. The one thing we haven't talked about yet is the Golden Globes, which are like the Grammys to the Oscars. If the Oscars have a Grammy, basically. There's not a lot of overplay between when people get a Golden Globe and a Oscar at the same time for the same performance.
Okay.
This time I think they're going to do it with This Is Me from The Greatest Showman, because it's the big, showy, theatrical song about putting on a show, and that's the sort of crap that they eat up at the Oscars. So I have no doubt that that's going to be the one they're going to get.
All right. Okay.
It will win the Golden Globe and the Oscar. I don't know how often that happens. If it's never happened, this will be the first time, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but literally I haven't heard. Well, I heard Remember Me, but I really hope Coco walks away with nothing, too.
I remember when I was, 17, 18, when for the first time ever, a rap song had been nominated, and it was Hard Out Here for a Pimp from Hustle and Flow. And I remember that whole fucking experience being in my dorm room watching the Oscars that night and just being like, these can't be the first guys to win. And they didn't. These cannot be the first guys to win for hip-hop. That can't happen. And so like ever since then, I've been really pulling for stuff. And so like there's this huge part of me that really wanted to see Common win it because I loved fucking all that stuff last year, right? I don't know if he wins it this year because I think it's a boring song. The end.
But if Common didn't win it for his performance in Suicide Squad, I don't think he's ever going to win an Oscar.
Plus, to be fair, Common is only featured on that. Stand Up for Something is a Diane Warren song that has Common come in for the bridge.
So, end of the story is that like I actually really like Mudbound, but I don't know how much of that is my like my brain being like this needs to happen. You know what I mean? I think I might go for the Coco song because at the end of the day, I think it's a Pixar song, it's a Disney hit, and I think it's better than Greatest Showman. So like I think it was between those two up until I saw Greatest Showman, and I was like, so like I think it's gonna go to Coco just on the nature of like that's the song to win, you know. Like
I really
hope Mary J. Blige gets it, but I think it's gonna. Coco.
I wouldn't mind it walking away with that if it doesn't walk away with the other one it's nominated for. But we'll get to that.
Right. And I'm just gonna say this about This Is Me. I really thought it was going to be my choice until I listened to it again, and that song is just as repetitive as every other song I complained about from The Greatest Showman.
I think Jeff is right. I think Jeff's
not wrong at all.
No.
Yeah. I think Jeff is right. But I'm going to go with Coco because I think on the off chance that they don't pick This Is Me, that's the one they're going for.
I'm just impressed I can say Sufjan Stevens.
If I took a second guess, I probably would actually guess that one too. So I cannot fault your logic.
Moving forward musically, let's look at the original score, where our nominees are Dunkirk, Phantom Thread, The Shape of Water, Star Wars The Last Jedi, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
And I'm so excited. I'm actually about to cry over this. I get to say that I actually have listened to all of these. Woo! Yes! I can actually put my input in, and I feel good about that. I love, I just quick shout out to Spotify. The end. All right. But no, I've actually listened to all of these, and man, there's... it's hard because I've been listening to nothing but the Black Panther soundtrack for the last 2 months. So every time somebody's like, best original, I'm like, Black Panther? No, that's next year. I loved a lot of these guys. It's actually kind of hard for me to pick, but where are you at, Devin?
This one easy for me. I'm going with The Shape of Water. The lack of sound is such a big part of that movie that the score really got to sing and flourish, and it tells most of the story. So I think that if The Shape of Water is going to get any sort of recognition, it is most definitely in the score category.
Okay. Man. So here's the thing. Phantom Thread I can just toss out. I really enjoyed it. I think it was really good movie music, but it didn't go any further than that. And I mean movie music.
Devin, do you remember much genre? Do you remember much of the soundtrack for that one at all? I can't remember what kind of music.
I couldn't tell you if it had a score. I think Steven is lying about listening to it.
I think he just listened to 4 hours of white noise.
Or he listened to the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, like Phantom Thread is
pretty generic.
And so listening to it, but that's exactly what I mean. Is it felt like movie music. It didn't even feel like genre music. So I'm not surprised you don't remember it ever being in the movie because they probably didn't use it often. Anyway, so like Phantom Thread's kind of out for me, right? Dunkirk is Zimmer, and everything about Dunkirk is exactly what you think it is. So take that for what you will. Like, you go in watching this war epic with Hans Zimmer making the music, you know everything about what you're about to get. And so, like, Dunkirk I really enjoy, but I also understand that it is nothing special. But this is when it starts to get hard for me, guys, because, like, I actually really enjoy... I don't know, like the 3 Billboards stuff was really interesting to me because I didn't know what to expect going into that type of movie because nothing about that movie I knew what to expect. Star Wars is... not at all what I expected, and Shape of Water was another one I thought I had an idea of what to expect and was proven wrong. So like I've just got feelings about these last 3. I don't know honestly where to land. I might go with Shape of Water with Devin on this one, just because Desplat's one of my favorites. So like maybe that's the way I'll go. I don't know, Jeff. Where are you?
I was waiting for you, but I'll go ahead if you want. I didn't see 3 Billboards. That's the only one I didn't see. I don't really want it to go to Star Wars, but it easily could because it's a Star Wars soundtrack.
Yeah,
The Shape of Water has the Shape of... Excuse me. You talk while I cough. Hold on.
Yeah, no, Last Jedi. I think my thoughts about that originally were just that like it wasn't what I expected for a Star Wars movie, but also wasn't mind blowing enough to like make that okay. Like there are parts where that doesn't necessarily work for me. So like as much as I think it was great, and you're right, it's John Williams, it's Star Wars, all this other stuff. I, I don't want it to go to Star Wars either, so I'm having a hard time saying I think that's where it'll go. You're not wrong to point it out though.
Yes,
I don't know. You
I
back, Jeff?
too did not like Star Wars.
Okay, Jeff's not back yet. But like, yeah. So like, I don't know.
I'm
Shape
sorry,
of Water
I'm
though.
back.
Oh no,
Okay,
worries.
I didn't unmute myself. Sorry, I was talking for a second there. It's like, oh, he's not back yet. Like, oh no. So can't tell when the light's flashing. Apparently. Anyway. So like, okay, I can't give it to Phantom Thread because again, like, I couldn't tell that movie had music, and I don't want to give it to this. I have no idea what the soundtrack for Billboards was even like. Shape of Water is a pretty good choice, but maybe just to mix it up, I'm going to give it to the giant trash can that Hans Zimmer beat on for an hour and a half to make the soundtrack for Dunkirk. Because, okay, like, even though I remember walking in on it at one point early before I'd seen, and it was just, and I was like, what the hell is going on in this movie right now? But then when you see it in the context, it is just about this thrumming, beat you down, hold you, and push you into the mud sort of thing. It's like, this is friggin' intense, and it works. So I think there's a chance it'll get it. It might be too experimental. It might be too thudding. It might not be the sort of thing that you listen to outside of a context or in a clip that it's just like, yes, this is inspires, because it just punches you and hits you with a bunch of aluminum baseball bats.
Yeah,
So,
I see. The thing is, I think Hans Zimmer has been chasing that Inception idea for like ever since Inception came out. You know, so like he's trying to find that thing that is quote unquote experimental, not necessarily experimental.
well, has he
Like,
won for any of the stuff he's done for Nolan yet?
I don't know.
Did he win for Inception?
I don't know if he won for Inception. He probably that would have been the one he would have won for. I think
But
out of all of them.
Say what you will about Inception, the soundtrack is noteworthy.
Well, I
Like,
mean
and it is memorable.
that bass tone joke is going to be something in our lexicon for the rest of our lives. Like anytime somebody wants to do something goofy, you're going to hear that wow.
Well, that's
joke
Inception, not really. That's Inception, rather than I mean Interstellar. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Interstellar's soundtrack that's what I meant.
yeah,
I
yeah,
remember
no,
that
no,
Interstellar
that movie-
was nominated, and I questioned why. Like that movie, and that's the thing that like now I'm clearly on record for Shape of Water, but now thinking about the fact that it is another Nolan score, and it has been like left as the bridesmaid, never the bride, so many times before.
Maybe
This could definitely be its year.
maybe yeah, but
Because at least it's
I
part of a good movie this time, unlike with Interstellar, where
Well, you-
they've got to sort of give the fact that Interstellar's not that great.
let's
It's
do
definitely
this then.
the least of his movies.
I'm gonna throw mine at Dunkirk. Devin, you said you're on for your Shape of Water, right?
Yep.
So what does that leave you with, Jeff?
He went with Dunkirk.
I was going to say Dunkirk.
Oh no, you take Dunkirk, and then I will take Three Billboards because I seem to be the only one that actually found it interesting or listened to it. What was it with you?
I feel like the performances overwhelmed any sort of production for that film for me,
Okay.
as we will see as we go further down the list.
All right, Devin, take it away.
Let's move on.
Not spoiling anything, but at one point I walked down Three Billboards and saw Peter Dinklage. And I was like, holy shit, it's Peter Dinklage. Okay.
It's not a spoiler because he definitely shows up in the trailer. And
Okay, I didn't see
I
the
watched the trailer again, and I'm like, oh, okay, so they do show that Peter Dinklage is in this movie.
Well, and I knew he was in it because him and the guy that made it there, Martin McDonagh. No, what's his name? The Irish guy. Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll
but
get
they were
to
like
it.
besties.
Yeah.
Ever since in Bruges.
Oh, yeah.
I think my favorite Peter Dinklage performance is still Pixels. When he's making fun of Billy Mitchell.
I don't actually hate that choice. Yeah, him playing Billy Mitchell was.
it just with his, I don't know. I don't really like that movie, but I think his performance is excellent.
The crazy thing about Pixels is now we know Billy Mitchell is a
Mitchell
cheater.
was a cheater, which is kind of crazy. I mean, I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt or whatever. If there's some other thing, whatever. Well, I
but
actually
it's
know a
just-
guy who's one of my friends is one of the guys in King of Kong, and so he's met Billy Mitchell. He
Oh,
met
that's
the
awesome.
he met Todd. What's his face? The other guy. Before
Todd Rivers?
Not Todd Rivers. What's his name? Todd, the other guy. Some guy who was definitely cheating. And I asked him at one point, we were at breakfast. I'm like, so what's your thing about this Todd thing? And he said, well, I've met him once before, and I always there was something about him that it didn't really sit right with me, and now I guess I know what it is. So actually, my boy, if you've seen the trailer for King of Kong, he's the guy who says, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. I play video games.
I know exactly who you're talking about. I love
he
that
went
movie.
to URI.
And I'm actually about to just go and watch it. Because you mentioned it, I'm now going to have to watch it tonight. Thank you.
He
All right,
went
Devin,
to URI. He's a friend.
take it away.
All right. So production design, Beauty and the Beast, Blade Runner 2049, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, and The Shape of Water.
All right, right now, Blade Runner 2049. We've talked about all of these before, so you know what I've seen and what I haven't. Blade Runner 2049, I'm going to say takes it, and I want it to take it. The end. I don't know. Argue with me. I don't know. Blade Runner 2049.
I could see it.
I'm going to go with The Shape of Water again. Again, it's one of those movies. It was nothing super special to me. I really enjoyed the film, and I look forward to watching it again. But just based on the audience reaction to that film and everybody suddenly being a film scholar and talking about the mise en scène and the composition of the sets, it just feels like it's that movie that's accessible enough that it makes everybody feel smart about production design, and that's why I give it my bid in this department.
Yeah. Fair enough.
You make a good point. I was going to give it to Shape of Water, but since you picked it, I'm going to change mine. Again, just to make it more interesting, and because I don't really have a dog in this one, I'm just like, all right, it could easily go to Blade Runner. It could easily go to Shape of Water. So I'm going to give it to Beauty and the Beast because one thing they like doing is, this remake, look how close they got to this and that, and look how close they got to that. So it could easily take this one. Although I do think it's better. It's more likely to get costume design, even though, the only person wearing a costume again is what's her face, Emma Watson. Everyone else is just CGI. So
Kevin
I will
Kline.
say that
well, Kevin Kline was nude the entire time.
So everyone was naked on the set of Beauty and the Beast 2017. You
Well,
heard
I
it
mean,
here first.
he wore a fake mustache, but
I
over
didn't
his
realize
penis.
before we started doing this, I didn't realize how much I actually really enjoyed Blade Runner. I liked it, but the more that this Oscars talk has gone on, the more I've realized I've really kind of been behind that movie.
It wasn't on my top 10, but the fact that I was
I didn't expect it to be
it.
either, man. Yeah,
I was dreading that movie, and then I went and saw it, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's fine, it's acceptable. It doesn't make any humongous mistakes.
It's
so as far as things from the 70s and 80s that we're dragging back up to make a bunch of money out of, as far as between this and the other one of those that we had this year. As far as which one made less mistakes, believe it or not, it was Blade Runner.
Yeah, and it's a pretty low bar for me, but at the end of the day, my big thing is, this was worth it. This attempt was actually worth them trying. There have been plenty of these types of movies that they've done that they were not worth the effort and therefore not worth my time watching. And this was completely worth it. More than that, but that was my bar going into it. So that's why I didn't realize how much I really liked it, because I was like, it passed my bar, but I didn't think of it past that. But now thinking about it from an Oscar standpoint, I'm actually kind of behind Blade Runner 2049.
If it took home everything it's nominated for, at least would take things away from some stuff that I don't want to get nominated. And also, not to spoil the ending though, because Devin hasn't seen it, but I think it was really weird that they decided to make it that that Deckard was actually also the same character that Harrison Ford played in Air Force One. So I mean, I thought that was a weird choice.
But I think that when you think about Air Force One being that subtle reference to all of his Jack Ryan movies, so the idea that Blade Runner is just the future Jack Ryan, it starts to make sense.
Well, and then he might have been just a clone or something.
Right.
Then Gary Oldman appears, but he's still in the.
So obviously, neither of you guys have seen Firewall. Because Firewall, all of that falls into place. That's the entire third act.
I've heard about Firewall. There's a great story that Paul Bettany talks about when he keeps trying to fake punch Harrison Ford, and then finally it's you can go harder, and then finally one time Paul Bettany just hauls up and actually slams him, and then Harrison Ford's like, that was good, you could do it like that, and he was like, oh my god, Harrison Ford is indestructible.
Because he's a replicant. That'll be revealed in Blade Runner 3018.
Well, okay, but that's the thing is he though? Because I thought that they're supposed to have a full year lifespan, so the fact that the movie even exists seems to contradict that, but what the fuck do I know?
I'll tell you what, we're on sound mixing now.
Yeah.
Yes, let's go.
You okay, Dave?
You broke me. You broke me a little bit there. That was good. What the fuck do you know, Jeff? And sound mixing, we have Baby Driver,
first time on the list. And I want to point that out.
Yeah, first
because
Baby Driver nomination.
I wouldn't be surprised if Baby Driver went away with nothing because it seems like it's just been completely forgotten about. And I think it might be
you can't ignore the Kevin Spacey in the room, man. Like I think that's part of the reason why more people are not now talking about it.
Movie, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, and that sucks because he's not a huge part of it. He's not the best part of it by any stretch. All of that stuff at the time, it was a great get, and now it's the worst thing that could have happened. I think, unfortunately, the reason you're not hearing more about it in all of this award stuff is because of that connection.
And also they want to take a home video and replace him with Chris Plummer.
We're right, and they and they hung their hat. They hung their hat on the Kevin Spacey stuff in a way that like made total sense at the time. Like I said, like it was a great get to have Kevin Spacey in it, and for him and for that group making that movie to be able to say, "Hey, we got Kevin Spacey in this small role." And unfortunately, it did not pay off because of all of the stupid shit we learned out about him, asshole. Anyway, so yes.
So the other nominees besides Baby Driver are Blade Runner 2049, Dunkirk, The Shape of Water, and Star Wars The Last Jedi. Is it officially Star Wars The Last Jedi? Or is it just The Last Jedi?
Who knows? Well, that's why I brought up Baby Driver, because we've seen a lot of these movies more than once. Yeah. We'll see Baby Driver again later on, but the fact that it's the first time it appeared is like all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, that was a movie I saw in July that I quite liked, but it's just...
Yeah.
But I think Sejan hit the nail on the proverbial head.
It's not gonna. It won't win a thing, I think, unless.
Unfortunately, I forgot about Kevin Spacey because I try to ignore negative things, and my pick for sound mixing, Baby Driver.
No, I think actually, I think Devin might be onto something here because as much as you're right, Jeff, like the idea that Baby Driver wouldn't be able to hold it with the big dogs later on, I think this sound editing, like the weird front half of the Oscars is exactly the place where a movie like Baby Driver can do okay because so many people have kind of ignored it in the way that they're going to ignore it.
You know.
Yeah. So Devin might actually be onto something calling it this early with something like Baby Driver. I am again going to say Blade Runner.
No one...
Again, see, I always have trouble sort of even just determining the difference in sound mixing and sound editing. But I'm just like, all right, whatever. It's sort of arbitrary. I remember the year that Matrix was nominated, it took home everything. So it was pretty easy because it was like, the Matrix did stuff that no one had ever seen before at the time. And I don't think we haven't really had a movie come out like that in kind of a while. Well, most of it's just the performance capture stuff, which again, people keep fighting about. So it's like, all right, get over yourself for 2 seconds if you could. Oh, wait, it's Hollywood. You're not going to do
that. Jeff, if it helps, the difference between mixing and editing, at least the way I think of it, mixing is how it actually hits the ear, like the volume of certain things in contrast to one another, where editing is actually what you're hearing.
So like Dunkirk doesn't work for me because so much of that soundtrack was in my ears that I couldn't hear what was going on. So like that's why I'm not giving it to sound mixing.
Well, see,
sound editing, it's a different conversation. But for me, sound mixing, it was just like so much of that soundtrack was just banging in my ear that like I didn't really grasp what was going on in scenes. And I understand that might be their point, but I don't agree with their point then.
Well, okay, so you guys have both chosen. I'm going to choose Dunkirk just because, again, at least it's a movie where the sound is something that you notice.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
that's good.
As far as like, The Last Jedi or whatever, it's just like, well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. Well, the thing I noticed about that one is all the lightsabers sound friggin' weird now. It's like, all right, like you can't just use the old sounds. You got to be this lightsaber going to sound. I get like why Kylo Ren's one sounds different because he has the corrupted crystal or whatever. Like I get that.
Yeah.
The normal one that Luke has used like his whole life, and all of a sudden it's like, vroom. It's like, all right, sure. Like
it needs
it's now
an oil change when it starts sounding like that.
No, yeah, it's a Tesla now. The Tesla saver. So I'm gonna give it to Dunkirk and the trash can that they all were banging on and trying to escape as it rolled down the hill full of rocks and whistles and air horns.
Which brings us into sound editing because
what are the nominations for this one? These are 5 totally different ones.
Yeah, right. It's Baby Driver, Blade Runner 2049, Dunkirk, The Shape of Water, and Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
And Monster.
Is this just a joke? And Monster Trucks, Nickelodeon movie? Yes, I would vote for that in a heartbeat.
Was Monster Trucks last year?
Monster
Yeah,
Truck
man.
was January.
God,
so
I
it would've-
fucking loved Monster Trucks.
Yeah, I kind of do too because it's so friggin' ridiculous.
Okay, here's the
Get
thing.
back-
I've
like,
never
get
seen,
bastards.
and I'm saying this including fun size. I've never seen a Nickelodeon movie that I didn't at least enjoy myself. Some of them have been straight up good. Um, I'm gonna change up my thoughts on sound editing though.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Star Wars. I'm going to take Star Wars: The Last Jedi on this one for the sound of silence. I think that moment was so big for so many people.
Yeah, well, you know, okay, we've
It
all
was
seen
so
this movie,
big.
right? We've seen this now, right? All three of us?
Yes.
Yes.
Real quick, guys, if by chance you haven't seen Star Wars: The Last Jedi, I'm going to say something that happens towards the end of the movie, because this is something about what happened later. So there's a moment where there's a giant space explosion, but for the first time in Star Wars canon, they don't actually have sound traveling through the empty vacuum of space, and it is punctuated by silence. And thus, certain movie theaters around the world had to put up a sign that said, yeah, there's a bit of silence at this point in the movie. It's part of the way it was designed, everybody. It's not a malfunction in the thing. Now, and so, one, it's like if I had seen that picture somewhere, I would have just crumbled it up and threw it into the trash, because if you're that completely illiterate about movies, then you should need to watch either more movies or less. I can't tell which. And second, in that moment of silence where there's this big, let's say it's a giant craft that is exploding, you might have heard something in the audience yourself, and you might have heard a single voice go, hey, why didn't they do that before, like in any of the other movies? And that's not part of the soundtrack. That's a person sitting in the audience making a very good observation about a stupid movie. And that would be all the trash talk I say about Star Wars: The Last Jedi for this minute.
Also,
Oh, God.
Jeff was that man you heard because he made it his personal mission to sit in a theater in all 50 states and Puerto Rico and say, why didn't they do this before?
I bought some
Oh,
bottled
my
water
God.
when I went to Puerto Rico, though, so I did more than Trump did. Oh, hang on. High five. Low five.
All right.
Did you get political on the spot? No, I
Oh,
won't
we've
be
gotten
talking.
political before. It's completely fine.
Okay.
It's
Well,
a
I mean,
show
just
about
It's a
everything,
report, man.
Jeff.
We talk about everything. Yeah, man.
Okay. I
I
don't
stand by
do
Star Wars: The Last Jedi for this one, and because as the only person on this podcast that clearly has the right opinion about that movie.
Speaking of the right opinion on a movie, I went with Baby Driver again.
Okay,
I
all right.
doubled down.
Well, I mean, like Baby Driver also has such a huge chance in this one. I love that opening scene alone for this exact thing.
Yeah,
right?
the movie
Him-
obviously just uses music very well,
Right.
and sound. So
I mean, it's kind of its entire concept, so I'll almost be sad if it doesn't win this one, but I still think, in terms of what I think they'll go for, I think Star Wars Last Jedi gets it. Star Wars movie, good sound all the way through, and it has a very specific moment that the world latched onto. Whether you hated or loved that movie, it became a meme, that moment.
Yeah, none of these other movies had warnings posted in the theater lobby
About their sound.
about their sound.
yeah,
Exactly.
which is still friggin' can't believe.
Of course. All right, Devin.
So what's
let's
your
do it
choice,
up.
Jeff?
Well,
Oh!
what was yours again? Yours was Baby
I
Driver,
thought
I
right?
went with Baby
shit on
Driver, yeah.
Star Wars. Oh, we
Okay.
can pick one, right? Okay.
I'm going with Blade Runner because you finally left it alone. And Blade Runner has, okay. So Hans Zimmer had his trash can. So Blade Runner has the, incredibly slow down orchestra hit where it's just bong. So it's just like I don't even know how to describe it, but it's just so it's just Ryan, what's his
Did you
face?
say
Ryan
Inception?
Gosling?
Ryan Gosling walking slowly through red sand for like 10 minutes, and all of a sudden you just hear "Bong" for
And then
like
after
an
that,
hour.
you hear,
I think Hans
The
Zimmer.
movie
makes
would have
his
been a lot
best music
shorter if
with
it had
pretty
cut a
white
lot of
boy
his
in front
slow
of it.
motion walking. What'd you say, Siege?
I said I think Hans Zimmer makes his best music when there's a pretty white boy dancing around in front of it.
Yeah, or just when he has a big when he has a big trash can,
Oh, or a big trash can around, or both.
So I'm gonna give it to Blade Runner just because I'm like, again, it's. I mean, I don't know if that even counts as was that music, was that sound? It was just bong. It's just So
Excellent.
I'm gonna give it to that one. We'll see. I really don't have a.
Jeff, way to latch right onto sound editing is what you're listening to. 'Cause that is what boom.
Yeah, it's bong.
All right, which brings us to the last in editing, film editing, where we again see Baby Driver, Dunkirk, for the first time, I, Tanya, The Shape of Water, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
You guys are gonna have to fill me in. I, Tonya is the sequel to I, Robot, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Where it's
where,
revealed that Tanya Harding is a replicant.
That's the one.
And
She's
then
hanging out with. She's hanging out with Will Smith again, right?
Yeah. She breaks Will Smith's leg with a pipe at the end of it, though. It's really unfortunate.
Nice.
And it's,
Yeah.
what's really
No, and then
sucks
she
is
shoots
wearing
him.
those
She does the-
Converse shoes.
What's that maneuver they do where they shoot him, but then they bring him back to life?
I believe that was called Flatliners.
No, Devin knows it, right?
I don't remember that. The Kobayashi Maru? Dale is the iRobot fan.
Did you remember? Did you remember Focus?
It's not even.
The very end of
Focus?
Focus.
Oh,
They blast him and they have to bring him back to life.
no, I don't remember that one. And I really liked Focus,
Focus
even
is
though it
pretty
was
good. I tell you
2
what.
movies like stitched together.
It's the good movie that he did with Margot Robbie. That's what that one is.
Yes, it certainly is, because it certainly wasn't Suicide Squad.
All right.
I think that honestly, they met on Suicide Squad and were like, "Hey, you want to do like a real project together?" And then the two of them
I
did
think they came
Focus.
before it, though.
Focus
I'm
came
not
out
sure.
like
Oh,
2
it
years
came out
before.
for it.
So it
came
might
out
have been the other
before.
way around. It might have been, hey, let's have her be Harley Quinn. She'd be great at it. But
Or-
also, like if we're going to talk about bad movies with Will Smith, I don't see Bright listed here anywhere on any of the nominees.
It
I don't
wasn't-
think
it didn't go on
direct to
theaters,
Netflix
right?
movies get nominated for Oscars.
Well, I also don't think shitty ones get nominated either.
Oh, Jeff, I'll
I've only
watch
seen
Bright.
half
All right, I
Bright,
get
so-
it.
Here's the thing. I think
I need you
Bright-
to watch it so I'm not suffering alone.
I have the same feelings. Okay, we got to talk about Bright in the context of Justice League. I'm just putting that out there, doing the other Say report thing we do, where we promise future episode things. All right, so film editing stuff. So Devin, where are
Baby
you
Driver.
landing?
I went with Baby Driver again.
I
think
kind
a
of want to
third
go with
time's the
Baby
charm.
Driver.
I'm
think-
going Baby Driver 2. Why don't you all pick it?
Okay,
Because that
let's
movie
do it.
is meticulously edited.
I
That
think
movie
film
is
editing
edited. I don't
wise-
care about anything else there. That movie is edited like
That's what Edgar
Swiss
Wright is
watch.
known for. Like,
Yeah,
And
no,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. But also,
So that-
on top of all of that, it's also what car films are kind of like not only known for, but also in need of. Like, if you're going to make
Yeah.
a good car film, you need to be able to edit a good friggin' chase scene, and that is all that movie is. Sorry.
Well, unless you're the Fantastic series, whatever it's called, the Fast and Furious. Well, all you need to do is
Fantastic
shake the camera
Furious.
while looking at Vin Diesel, and then shake the camera while looking at his odometer, and then shake the camera while he's hitting the nitro
Can't
button.
bring Michelle
and
Rodriguez
shake-
back every few.
Oh God! Like they had her out. Why did they bring her back? And they did the same thing with friggin' the Resident Evil series.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
like, why is she type
Well,
O
because
negative blood? Is it just
for,
that
for
worried
a
in case
long
she gets hurt?
time, the trope was to kill Michelle Rodriguez, and then weirdly the trope evolved into then bringing her back from the dead. Like she's one of the few that we've killed so many times that now we bring her back from the dead as well. The next person in line for that is Ned Stark. There, we're gonna start bringing him back for Sean Bean every movie he died
But
in.
the best part is they only bring back Michelle Rodriguez so we can get the satisfaction of her dying again.
What one did she die again in?
Oh, I'm just saying, it's happening. Like
Okay.
right now, it's place setting, so she's gonna die. I wouldn't be surprised if she died in Fast and the Furious 9, just
Well,
because
she
of
was-
all the noise she made.
Yeah, she made a bunch of noise as far as the fact that she's like, well, she wants more women representation, whatever. And I'm like, you're in currently the most diverse large movie series in the world right
as far
now.
as blockbuster,
Yeah, so-
go, you're kind of in the one that is actually catering to a lot of the audiences you're worried about.
Yeah, and is, I mean, not that it can't always do better. That's always the case. On the other hand, it's like if you want to stand to this thing, maybe you could be not the most limited actress who has somehow forged a 20-year career out of the same boring character or something.
I will.
You know,
here's the one
but,
thing I will say.
hey,
For Michelle
that's just me.
Rodriguez. Here's the one thing I will put out there in defense of Michelle Rodriguez is we cannot forget that she lived and breathed in like that weird Miramax world for a long time, and the fact that she fell out of acting, we have reason to believe nowadays that maybe there was some other weird shit going on.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
I am interested to hear her story someday, considering everything we've learned over the last couple of years. Because
Well,
I totally agree with you that like she serves a very small audience for what she's good at doing. The Resident Evil movies and the Fast and Furious movies being that exact audience.
Yeah.
Also, anything in the Robert Rodriguez phase, like she fits into that slice of pie real nicely. So like. I don't disagree that she maybe wasn't the most like flexible actress, but I'm also really interested one day to hear everything that's actually she's had to deal with because I'm curious.
I hope we don't have to wait 10 years or something like we did with friggin' Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
Who talked about like some guy grabbing his ass or whatever, and it is just like it's one of these things. Like it's like before then it was Terry Crews we heard about getting sexually harassed, and everyone else is like, well, why didn't these women come forward? It's like, dude, Terry Crews didn't come forward. Terry Crews is 6'5" and 105% muscle. If he didn't feel good coming forward and doing something, then what chance does anyone else have? So
yeah, man. No, there's going to be some interesting conversations. I'm also very curious. Like, this is like something we have yet to talk about today. Maybe we should at least mention. Like, how are the Oscars affected this year? Are they in any way? Have we noticed anything? I guess you haven't noticed a real Harvey Weinstein picture on any of these, have you?
What was his last? Like, I think his last thing was, I think that he had a hand in was the American release of Ballerina, also called Leap, which certainly didn't get nominated for anything because it was just a thing that got ditched in August or whatever it was. Yeah. I thought Leap was just okay, but that honestly is the last thing I can remember seeing his name on.
Wait, what was that? A French film before? And then
I think it was French. Yeah. It's about ballerinas, so it's like, who cares about ballerinas? The French and gay people and the gay French people. So it's like, all right.
There's also that weird inventor character. I didn't see the movie, but like they leaned pretty heavily on that part in the trailer.
Yeah. In the marketing they did, but if you go to see the movie,
he's not actually. He comes and goes. He slapsticks his way out of scenes and is gone for like a day. And they because she's the main. You think I'm joking, but he'll be fell into a
I'm in a chicken coop.
Yeah. Oh no. Goodbye. I'll be back in 3 days.
Like
he's like child too. Wait, something happens to him and he comes back. I'm big.
But there we go. We tipped our hat to the controversy. So
all right.
So film editing. Where did we land?
We all went with Baby Driver.
Right? That was a good place to take a break.
Yeah.
Hope everybody got up to their nose when we were doing that.
It's now time for the lightning round.
Yeah. If we ever. Yeah. Here's this.
But if we ever, do you want to finish your thought before we go into it?
No, I was just gonna say it's like whenever we all just know we're gonna agree. Like you guys was, I'm like, let's just get to it, say Baby Driver, and then talk about something else for 5 minutes.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. So lightning round, because I'm pretty sure, and I don't want to speak for everybody, that we haven't seen any of the next 4, maybe 5 categories.
I'm going with you on that, man.
All
How
right.
dare you make such an assumption? I am offended. I'm going to boycott this podcast. That's a good movie. An Inconvenient RoboCop? That's right. I'm going to go buy a car that's more economically friendly. When are we going to get that movie? The movie about the making of Birdemic instead of The Room. That's probably going to be the next thing they're going to try to do.
Jesus.
They're going to get Ken Jeong to play the guy who made it, whatever the hell his name is. I forget.
You have lost me. People don't know this about.
I was with him every step of the way.
Well, Jeff and I play a game called Pop Culture Chicken, all the time. Jeff just bested me in Pop Culture Chicken.
There's no way you would have gotten
on
that.
Air, man, on air.
Yeah, there's no way you would have gotten that one. That's.
I was going to say Weird Al. I think will be the guy that plays the dude in the Birdemic stuff. I'm just going to put that out there. Well, he has a fantastic love for that movie.
The actual the guy behind it is I believe he's from Korea or Taiwan or something like that.
So maybe
Randall Park.
Maybe Weird Al will be the. I was going to say
Jonah. What are they going to do? They're going to You Only Live Twice him or something, and shave his chest and give him fake eyelids or whatever. Like
no, he's going to be the Seth Rogen character of this one. That's what he's going to be.
Oh, he's going to be the Seth Rogen that appeared in that Bruce Lee movie that they did this year, where the main character turns into some white dude instead of Bruce Lee. Like, what's... Yeah, cool. This guy lived an interesting life, didn't he? The guy who's not a martial artist and can't kick people's asses. So, all right, sure, let's watch this guy.
All right, lightning round. Best foreign language film. Sejin, what do you got? No, I should probably name them. A Fantastic Woman, The Insult, Loveless, On Body and Soul, The Square.
I'm going to say Loveless because Hollywood's going to go totally Russia just to piss off people. There we go. That's my reasoning. It's not good, but I did it.
Jeff, what do you got?
I'm going to say A Fantastic Woman because it's from Chile. Who gives a crap? Like, it's completely arbitrary.
I'm going to go with The Insult because for the first 9 years of my life, I thought Lebanon was called Cinnabon.
Well, they were going to do that, but the deal fell through.
See, I think I had the most sound reasoning. I think I should just get points for that. Anyway.
I think I had Loveless, and then you chose it. And we said that we were all going to pick a different one, which brings us into Best Live Action.
That's not entirely
short
true.
film.
I've been totally picking stuff with you.
I do have one choice later on. I think I said this in the pre-show.
You
but
mentioned that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Devin, go ahead.
So
before
best
I steal
live-action short film, we have DeKalb Elementary, The 11 O'Clock, My Nephew Emmett, The Silent Child, Watu Wote, or All of Us. I choose DeKalb Elementary because people love children.
I'm going to say Watu Wote because after everything over the last couple of years, I think everyone in Hollywood's going to try and find some way to not be racist, and this is going to be their awkward attempt at that.
I'm going to choose The Silent Child because shut up.
Winner.
Excellent.
Which brings us to Best Documentary Short Subject, Edith and Eddie, Heaven is a Traffic Jam on the 405, Heroin, open parentheses, E, close parentheses, Knife Skills, Traffic Stop.
You should get a golf clap for that reading of Heroin, by the way. I didn't even think about the fact you were going to have to verbalize it.
So I'm going with Heroin.
Oh, nice.
Or
okay.
Halloween.
All right. I was going to say Heaven is a Traffic Jam on the 405 because that sounds like a play I'd love to produce or direct.
Jeff?
You're going to have to give me a moment. I'm trying to figure out if...
Also, it's Edith plus Eddie.
Okay, I'm going to go with it anyway. I'm going to go with Knife Skills because it's directed by someone named Thomas Lennon, and that's the guy from Reno 911 and Viva Variety. I don't think it's actually him, but it's the same
name.
I
hope it is.
I really hope it is, too. But I think he goes by Tom Lennon.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's true.
But this guy, that Thomas Lennon, is number 3, so I don't know who 2 and 1 are. But he was also in the 1517 to Paris, so I walked down and seen with that. He's playing our principal who's getting shit from, what's his name? Judy Greer or whatever. And I'm like, what the hell is up with this movie?
Wait, so this Thomas Lennon is not the Thomas Lennon from The Odd Couple who wrote The Spy Next Door.
Same. Yes, no, that would be...
Or the... Okay. Wait, they are the same?
No, okay.
The producer of At Midnight?
No.
The guy that wrote all of the Night of the Museum movies? What are you doing?
He only wrote the sequels.
We're talking about the same guy, but I don't know if we're talking about the same guy, so I have to look it up.
No, Evan, I have his book called Writing Movies for Fun and Profit.
I have his book for that, too. Why are we not writing movies for fun and profit?
No, it's not the same guy. Thomas Lennon's work in documentary film has earned him an Academy Award 3 nominations. Most often, his good fortune come in 2 pairs, etc., 2 Emmys. He directed Tong Zoo in Love, Unchained Memories, a couple episodes of Frontline.
Moral of the story is I stick
Becoming American, Sacred, the Trial from Zhanxing, the Supreme Court. Okay, so no, not the same guy. I'm sticking with it.
Okay, good.
He's Thomas Lennon too, apparently. Other Thomas Lennon.
You mean Thomas Lemon as well? No, I know.
Thomas Lemon TOO, as in like, look who's talking to. Or Now You See Me Too.
That's not what it was called. I wish it were called Now You See Me Too with a TOO.
No, I wish it was called Now You Don't. Anyway.
Yeah, I wish it was a better movie.
Yes, but
yeah, okay, yeah, and I also wish I was 5 and 7.
I wish that there was a sequel to Juno called Juno 2, where she's pregnant with twins. Moving on
No, with this one where Michael Cera's the one who's pregnant. Oh, no. Okay. And his father is Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it's like, I've done this before. And it turns out that he is the kid he had in Junior.
Oh, my God.
Did he have a boy or a girl in Junior?
I think he had a boy. Because
he did have a boy?
Yeah. Because Emma Thompson wanted a boy.
Halfway, whatever. Do a Charlie Cunningham thing where he walks upstairs and then a different kid comes down. You always change that stuff.
Do you remember that time that we missed the opportunity of Mrs. Doubtfire with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it instead? That's all I ever think of when I see him in Junior. That moment when he tries to play a woman, it's so good.
All I think of is that there should be more movies with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like 3 is not enough. 3 is not enough.
No, it's time for them to team back up again, of course.
And do triplets. With Eddie Murphy as the third one.
Oh my God! Break my heart.
I want Arnold Schwarzenegger to be the yellow M&M.
Yeah, why not? Let's do it.
Oh.
Oh, Hollywood! Seriously, listen to the Say Report. We got ideas.
Well, see, for me, I was the guy who was always like, they got to do something between, like, I think it's Columbia and Warner Brothers, so that they can do a crossover and make it that the third Paul Blart movie is Paul Blart RoboCop, so that What it is that he goes into like a collectible store and then gets like a RoboCop thing stuck in his head, but he also bumps his head, so he thinks he's actually a RoboCop, but he's not. So he puts himself in like really dangerous situations, but sort of bumblefucks his way through it and never gets hurt.
Because he's Paul Blart. That's what happens in Paul Blart movies.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, we have a job that we need to
That's
finish.
true. This has been fun. This has been fun imagining a shared universe of all the movies.
Yes.
But until, Hollywood decides they don't care about money, a.k.a. never, it'll never happen. Which brings us to Best Documentary Feature. And your choices are Abacus, Small Enough to Jail, Faces Places, Icarus, Last Men in Aleppo, and Strong Island. Jeff, why don't you pick first?
Well, I'm going to pick Abacus Small Enough to Jail just because it sounds like one of the things that they're going to get all like foofy-doofy about and be like, I never knew that. My high range isn't back, so I can't do my pretentious high guy voice. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe that they do that over here. I'm going to have Jeeves send my spare money over there to help them out. And there's kind of like Al Gore there. That's not what I was going for, but don't worry, kid. It's me, Man Bear Pig.
I'm gonna go with Icarus. No, I don't have a reason, because as we said earlier, this is really not the round for a reason.
I'm gonna go with Last Men in Aleppo for the same reason that Siegen went with Loveless. Because people don't know what Aleppo is. Let's remind them.
Nice.
Aleppo stands for Legionnaire equaling PP. Uh-oh. I believe that's it, right?
Yes, just
yep, right there. You got it.
The first P is PEE. The second P is PEA. For anyone writing that out.
No,
you have to urinate on tiny vegetables.
Uh-oh.
No, you're urinating tiny vegetables. It's the worst kidney stones ever.
That's way
worse.
No,
that would be PEA PEE.
PP? All right. No, your penis. No.
It's like your penis is a BB gun.
A very painful and ineffective BB gun.
We still have like 11 to go. Come on, guys. We
All
can do this.
You're the one who, we were done. You resurrected this Frankenstein.
Well, now we actually get to the ones we actually some might care about again.
Yeah, okay, so here we go. So now, if you're just joining us, here are the ones that people tend to care about. For cinematography, we have Blade Runner 2049, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Mudbound, and The Shape of Water. Siege, take us away.
I'm hard-pressed between Blade Runner and Shape of Water. I think Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Mudbound, I think they're all fantastic-looking movies. Like, this is... I mean, we're starting to get into the best of the best here. Like, this is not, no shame on any of them. But I think... I mean, I'm going with Blade Runner. Why would I argue? I'm going with Blade Runner. Doing it.
Sounds good. With that note, I'm going with The Shape of Water. The movie is beautiful. It is a living, breathing fairy tale. And I just want it to get, the recognition it deserves for being that. And the cinematography goes a long way towards making it real.
And at the end of the day, Guillermo knows what he wants on that screen, right? Like, that's what Guillermo del Toro is all about, is the picture and, like, the way that he constructs shots. So,
I thought Antonio Banderas was responsible for The Shape of Water.
What are you doing?
Did you not see that? Are you not familiar with that controversy?
No.
They showed a picture. Some news organization like National showed a picture of Antonio Banderas and called it Guillermo del Toro.
Oh my God! No!
Dude, like when the movie came out, so like we're far enough removed from it where I thought time plus tragedy would equal comedy, but no, apparently not.
That is unfortunate. Oh God, no, like, oh God. All right, world, get your shit together. No, Guillermo del Toro's whole idea is the vision, right? And that idea was what's on the other side of the camera. So, like, I don't disagree with you, but I think Blade Runner just had so many beautiful moments.
Really feel like I should have saw Blade Runner. That's what I'm gonna say. Jeff?
Well, I was going to pick Blade Runner, then he picked it, and I was going to pick Shape of Water, then you picked it. So, the thing is,
you
though,
can
it's
pick
like,
one of those, dude.
I know. I'm thinking about whether or not I want to actually be different, because the fact of the matter is, Shape of Water is a terrifyingly beautiful movie. Not quite to the same level as Crimson Peak from a couple years ago, which that movie would look so good. You could take any still frame of it, and it would look like a perfectly, framed photograph.
Yeah.
The Shape of Water is not quite that good looking. It's very close, though. I guess I would stick with The Shape of Water because none of the other ones really are making me tingle in any real way. So, like Darkest Hour, like it looks good, but the cinematography is still kind of gray and flat. And Dunkirk, you know, it looks kind of worn out and warlike. And Mudbound, I didn't see, so I don't know. So I am going to go Shape of Water then.
Excellent. Before I read the original screenplay nominees, I'm going to request to go last on this one.
Okay.
If that's all right with everybody. So for original screenplay, we have The Big Sick, Get Out, Lady Bird, The Shape of Water, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
All right, so if Devin's going to go last, I'll gladly go first then. I'll jump in. So I got feelings about all of these things, man. Shape of Water is Guillermo. I mean, like, I love that all the way. Also, the idea that he has a co-writing credit with a Vanessa Taylor that I'm not aware of, but just the idea that it's Guillermo sharing the spotlight is, like, heartwarming in a lot of ways. I love Martin McDonagh. Like the 3 Billboards was great, and it is pure McDonagh through and through. Get Out was, I think its story is better than its dialogue in a lot of places, if that makes sense. I don't know. Lady Bird was fun, but I think I got to go with The Big Sick. And part of that is, I'm not going to lie, my love affair with Emily and Kumail. Like Emily Gordon and Kumail Nanjiani are 2 of my favorite, like, creative forces to begin with. To be fair, Kumail I know more of than Emily Gordon, but ever since this stuff with The Big Sick has come out, like, she's become a really active voice too, and I just love the 2 of them. So, like, part of it is definitely me just wanting them to win it, but also I think that for, like, that kind of story and them telling their own story, it came out perfect. So I'm going to go with The Big Sick on this one.
Jeffrey?
Alrighty. So did you guys know that Vanessa Taylor, the co-writer of The Shape of Water, also wrote the screenplay for Divergent?
No.
Apparently with Evan Daughtry and based on the novel by Veronica Roth.
Divergent, one of the few of those novelization to film movies I could swallow, right? Like, it was the only one I actually tolerated, yeah.
I had to go into the Insurgent for about 5 minutes to check a projection problem, and I really wanted to just kill myself. It was so awful. Bad. It was so embarrassing. Like, way, way worse than Twilight ever was, as far as I can tell.
No.
But friggin'.
Every other YA started weak and got stronger. Divergent went the other way.
And they rushed it. That's what it is they realized they weren't going to make as much money as a Twilight, and so they just kind of shit out the last 2. That's exactly what happened.
Well, and then they also, that makes no sense, though, because then they made the second one 2 movies, which probably will never actually get their endings. That's why, like, they just had such bad buzz at that point. They're like, dude, it's not even the whole Allegiant. They call it Allegiant. But it's Allegiant Part 1, and they just didn't shoot it. And also, it cost $100 million for, like, a shockingly cheap movie. The movie looks like friggin' like, you know, what's that movie? Andromeda. Like that Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda. It looks like really cheap science fiction. Like, just crappy, like Land of the Lost level. And it cost $100 million. And it's like, where did this even go? Anyway, we'll slag on that some other time.
Yes. I look forward to it.
Yeah. Here's my logic on this one, is that for the original screenplay, this is where there's a certain movie that they did this year, which is going to win something. We know for sure. There's only one that I know will take home at least 1 award. It'll probably be, though, the lowest one they can give it to, with the possible exception of an acting award. So I think that the original screenplay will go to Get Out, and it won't go any higher than that. It won't get Best Picture, it won't get Best Director, and it probably won't get Best Actor either. So I think it will get Best Screenplay, and that will
because
be
they can't give it something higher.
They simply don't want to. It's like, we'll give it to this. So
no, I think that's
really
actually a good call.
It's not one person arbitrating the awards.
No.
So many things that the Academy does
also
has that
going in your favor in that argument is also the idea that it is Jordan Peele for both director and writer, and so they'll give it to him for this because for director they'll go somewhere else. I think.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't necessarily think, and I like to Get Out a whole lot. I don't necessarily think it was directed in such a way that it's necessarily going to be the best directed movie. I got to look at the nominees again, but I don't see that happening. Although if they did, you know, cool, I wouldn't reproach it. It'd be probably it's probably one of the best things from a first time director in a while. I'd have to look at some other nominations for it. But anyway, that's what I'm picking Get Out. Devin, cool. What are you going for?
All right. So the reason I wanted to go last was because I wanted to hear what Sejan had to say.
But I didn't want to hear what Jeff had to say, because screw him.
Jeff, do you know why? Because you are a truly unique voice, and you are going to pilot your ship along your own beat of a drummer.
And Siege ain't gonna do that.
Siegen, on the other hand, is going to perfectly go back and listen to Siegen's answer to what's going to win original screenplay. And that is exactly why, taking out all heart from this category, I went with The Big Sick. Because Emily V. Gordon and Kumail Nanjiani are so beloved in Hollywood and in creative circles that people want to award them something. And this is where they're going to get that award. It's the only thing they're nominated for, and I feel like this is going to be the way that an entire creative bubble celebrates these two individuals.
Yeah.
I honestly hadn't thought about that. You make a good point. I'm going to stick with my answer, though.
No, I like your answer. I unfortunately like your answer, is what I have to say, because I don't think you're wrong, and that hurts my heart a little bit. And I didn't even like Get Out as much as everybody else. Which moves
I wouldn't be sad. I mean, I wouldn't be sad if any of these won. Like we're getting into that point for me where like it's not like I think any of these are bad choices, but honestly, it's just coming down to what I just kind of assume is going to pick it up now. Because like especially this category, I think all 5 of these are really strong scripts.
Yeah, I mean, my mother said, I can't believe you didn't go with Shape of Water, because that was such an original idea and film. And, you know, writing off the Little Mermaid of it, she's not wrong.
She should listen to what I have to say for the rest of this episode, because don't worry.
All right, which brings us into adapted screenplay. Call Me By Your Name, The Disaster Artist, Logan, Molly's Game, Mudbound. So since we know Stephen's going to say Logan because he has a hard-on for Hugh Jackman, I'll go first. I'm taking The Disaster Artist. I think that The Room is just such a powerful force in the pop culture zeitgeist, to the fact that The Disaster Artist begins with talking heads of some of the biggest names in Hollywood talking about how much they like The Room, that I just can't see a film about it not getting some recognition. And as it's the only category that it's nominated in, I think this is where they're going to give it that recognition.
All right, so I'm gonna try to do this again. This is yet another category where I just kind of am feeling so much love for every single nominee that like I really don't know where to go, and like it's making me think about the idea that before we started recording this whole thing yesterday, Devin and I had a whole conversation about, getting the logistics down. But it started with the idea that Devin was telling me that he just wasn't excited this year. And in the moment, I was like, yeah, I get that. I understand. It's been kind of a weird year for movies. But man, sitting here tonight and looking at these lists and thinking about these particular films for all of these were actually some really good movies this year. Like, not enough to stick with me, obviously, because I didn't think of it yesterday. But man, like, all 5 of these movies are fucking movies, guys. Like, I'll take Logan. I'll take Logan happily.
Oh, man.
But like, they're like, but the thing is like Logan. Okay, no, let's do this. I kind of want to say The Disaster Artist too, because I love the book. I got the book for Christmas actually this year and blew through it, and it's phenomenal. So like, in terms of it as an adapted screenplay, since that's specifically what this category is, I'm super excited seeing it up here, because I think that like bringing that story to life is not only important, but also like it had to be people that understood it, and I think that weirdly the people to understand it were Franco and Rogan and those guys, I think Disaster Artist. I'm going to say Disaster Artist. I don't care that you already said it. I'm saying it.
Yeah, it's fine. Just follow your heart light.
Doing it. Go ahead, Jeff.
I'm doing the Disaster Artist too. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because I was I like the screenplay for Logan. I think it would be cool if Logan got something, but I mean, I don't think the screenplay for Logan was its strongest thing. It was just the sense of the theme of the entire movie being,
I don't know, man,
dreary fatalism and failure.
If you pull it out as the story and the dialogue, I think both are really strong. You know what I mean? Like I guess overall theme wise, but
Logan didn't make my top 10 list, even though it's pretty good. And I think it's an interesting counterpoint to Deadpool, another one that never made my top 10 list. And that was a year I saw even more movies. So it's just one of the things where it's like, I just can't really get behind it. But The Disaster Artist, as far as like, turning a book into a really compelling story, about this whole thing, I'm like, yeah, I'll give it to that one. So that's my choice.
I will say that I had no idea Call Me By Your Name was a book before. I Sorkin doing Molly's Game was. I mean, I love Sorkin, so like I kind of
seen it, right?
wasn't
You've seen Molly's
surprised.
Game?
I haven't actually seen it.
I haven't seen
Oh,
it
it's
either,
so-
and I love
it's
Sorkin.
so
You know
good.
that's like the
And I
Bible
don't
in my
like
house.
Sorkin. Like, I hated The Social Network. I don't like a lot of his stuff. It's overwritten. But, like, maybe it's because Chastain is just that good. But, like, damn, that movie works in every way for me.
That's
Like, you
interesting.
guys
That's cool.
gotta
That's
see
awesome.
To,
I mean,
to
I love
address-
I love again. I love Sorkin, so I'm not surprised that I like.
Now it sounds like we're making a Robert. I can't think of the guy's name. It would have been good though because
Wagner.
we're all talking over each other. Not Wagner, the guy who directed MASH,
Oh, the guy that directed Prairie Home Companion movie.
the guy that directed Popeye.
Altman.
Robert Altman.
Robert
Yes.
Altman.
Only said it 5 times.
Yeah, but we were all talking over each other.
What are you talking about?
All right,
David,
guys.
But I will say this: I would like to just quickly address Sejan's thing about not feeling enthused. My lack of enthusiasm comes going forward. It like the screenplay stuff was exciting. Like it's exciting to see Logan nominated. I don't think it should win, but it's great that it got the recognition that it deserved. I love like that was my perfect movie for a long time in 2017.
Yeah. All right, man.
All right.
Animated shorts.
Animated shorts.
Oh, so
Robert Rodriguez.
are we just sort of picking randomly here?
Yeah. So Jeff, you can go first once I read them out.
Okay.
Dear Basketball, Garden Party, Lou, Negative Space, Revolting Rhymes. Jeff.
All right, Devin, go ahead. Oh,
Sorry, I'm drinking water.
Well, it's the first time he hasn't gotten really to pick first in one of these.
I'm gonna pick Garden Party. Why not? I don't give a crap.
The
Sounds like something
prequel
you don't want to do
to
a
Sherlock
search
Gnomes.
Safe search on.
Garden Party was the first name of Sherlock Gnomes. That was their original thing.
So the shooting name is that what the script?
No, it's like remember when they did the weird home thing that was Steve Martin
Yes.
before Peabody and Sherman? That's what Garden Party was. Not really. We don't know.
Was Steve Martin in Peabody and Sherman?
No, but he was in Home. He was the leader of the Booth.
Yeah, I do remember that. And he kept finding human devices, and we're like, "Oh, look at this human fruit," and it was like a basketball.
It was a football.
Look, I'm whatever it was, but I'll say okay, not to get on it, but we got Peter Rabbit out right now, and I find Peter Rabbit to be unbelievably annoying to the point where I'm like, no, come back the Boov, and come back the map emoji. Both of you guys have a crossover where you irritate each other all day, and I won't find you half as obnoxious as I found Peter Rabbit, because in Peter Rabbit, it used to be just, oh, I'm an old farmer and I want to get rid of these rabbits, and the rabbit's like, well, I want to survive. But in this one, he's a neighbor, and it's Rose Byrne, who basically infantilizes these rabbits. I don't think she's the one who dresses them up, but she brings them in the house, she snuggles them, she gives them something, whatever. And I'm like, hey, here's a thought. How about you pay for the fucking vegetables rather than stealing them from a 70-year-old pensioner who happens to just have a farm there? How about you go ahead and pay for your
you're on the
food?
farmer's side. That's what you're saying.
I'm not even. It's not even that,
kids, get off their lawn.
The movie doesn't frame it in the sense of like that Peter Rabbit is doing anything except just being a douchebag. So it's not even that he's like, look, he put up an electric fence. I can get around that because I'm smart. Like what I want a Peter Rabbit movie with a Peter Rabbit voiced by friggin' Jason Statham, because then you'd be like, all right then, I can get around that. I'll jump up on here and do this and do that there. And then that would be amazing.
Like Guy Ritchie directs Peter Rabbit,
yeah, exactly. Have it be like a big action thing, and have it be about the actual battle.
Oh, God.
So
which one do you pick?
He picked Garden Party,
just so I could go off on a tangent, apparently, about friggin' Peter Rabbit.
Gardens.
Yeah,
he's played the long game. We gotta watch out. I'm going with Negative Space.
All right, Negative Space. You went with Garden Party. I'm going with Revolting Rhymes. That sounds pretty good. I look. There was an animated movie I saw about halfway through the year this year called "Here's the Plan," and it's this phenomenal little film online. And I swore at the time that it wouldn't win, but it would show up at the Oscars. And the fact that it didn't makes me sad. Shout out to that.
I'm just happy that there's no Disney in the animated short this year.
Well, that's the thing, is the fact that I was going to say, hey, let's give it to the Frozen short. whatever the name of it was. I believe it was the Frozen short where
No, it
Olaf
pissed off.
eats a fruitcake and it immediately passes through him, and
Did you
so
hear
it's
about
like,
this?
oh, we
stuff?
now know that Olaf defecates.
It pissed
So-
off a ton of people
There was a great
because
video.
it was like 30
on,
minutes long.
Yeah, it was, and people kept coming out of the theater and being like, "Dude, I want to see this." It's like, dude, it's a short. I know it's long, but go in there for God's sake. It'll be Coco in a little bit, and you can be disappointed by that, all right? But there was a video on like Instagram where friggin' it was Josh Gad talking to Lupita Nyong'o on set of whatever movie they were working on at the time, and he was trying to get some Star Wars spoilers out of her. And he was just like, look, I know about disappointment. Because we just released a Frozen short, which really ruined the lives of lots of 40-year-olds with blogs. And I'm like, you don't take any shit, Josh Gad. That's awesome. So I thought that was funny.
Oh man!
Speaking of Coco and being disappointed, best
Yeah.
animated feature: The Boss Baby, The Breadwinner,
Eh.
Coco,
Boo!
Ferdinand,
Boo!
or Loving Vincent.
I before anybody says anything, I am happy to lose my points to the Boss Baby. I'm putting all my money on the Boss Baby because I've seen that movie 4 times this year. I
This
fucking
year?
love the Boss Baby. It only came out this year, gentlemen.
No, it-
Yes,
no.
this year.
It came out last year. It came out in March.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
You mean-
in
you mean
the
in the
year
years?
since it has come out, since
I
it has
meant-
come out, I've witnessed that movie
2018, I was
in
like,
front of my eyeballs.
because if you literally watched it four times,
I got
18.
questions about that movie, Jeff. I want to know, what is it telling? What happens to aborted babies? I have some thoughts.
Well, they just go to hell.
They
Basically,
go to limbo.
Is he not-
Unbaptized
No,
babies
he's
go to
not-
limbo.
He's an
They're baptized
unbaptized
and then they're
unborn
aborted.
baby, and then he gets born. Does that mean he? Okay, all right, Boss Baby, because it made me
Here's a-
question my place in the world.
I've watched the trailer for The Boss Baby about 900 million times because it used to play on the television that's at my theater. So I saw it, and I began to become more and more fascinated by it because you see he has a little gold watch, and he has the little Birkenstocks and the things like this. There's little details about that stuff, and the way that they actually... So it looks like they started with the teaser trailer, and then try to make stuff to explain it afterwards, and it's
Oh,
so lame. Just everything else they come up with, it's like not
Oh,
nearly as interesting.
Here's
I'm
just
like,
how
no.
DreamWorks works. DreamWorks looks as like they do one movie that they're really working on, and then they're like, "All right, we need to give that movie 3 years. So in
What
the
the-
next 2 years, what bullshit can we crap out? All right, let's think of some names first, and then build from there." You're not wrong. The marketing for Boss Baby came long before the actual script.
The thing is with
I
the
don't-
Boss Baby is like with the DreamWorks at all is like I tend to like the ones that nobody else likes. I liked Monsters vs. Aliens.
Oh, I love that one. Yeah.
That
yeah.
I think that
great,
one's really
though.
good.
I
A lot of
love that
people
movie.
really hate it. A lot of
Oh my
people
God.
hate
The president in that one with Steve
Colbert.
Steve
with a
Colbert
giant
playing,
red button. No, that was
playing
so
fucking
cool.
Axel F to the aliens. Oh, it was so
Yeah.
good.
Well, I mean that was a little because they did that in Space Chimps the year before, and Space Chimps isn't a good movie either. So
Space Chips is the one I forgot about, and I saw that movie in theaters.
that
Oh,
that
man.
wasn't DreamWorks. That was something else, I think.
It was
DreamWorks.
Fox or something.
Hang on, my phone's ringing. One moment.
Evan, what are you saying?
I'm going with Ferdinand for one
Right.
simple reason.
John
There
Cena?
is a no. I enjoyed Ferdinand. I was in for Ferdinand for most of the film, but where that film cemented this conversation right now is in the credit stinger where Trace was revealed to be alive. If they do
Yeah.
not do a movie about the hedgehogs uno, dos, tres, and cuatro, missed fucking
yes.
opportunity, Blue Sky. Don't do it. Bring us more. I want to know where Trace was. I like it's all. It was
Like a
the
one
only
point,
thing.
like Lion King 1.5, where but it just explains where he was the whole time.
I don't care. I want to know everything. I
Or
want
like a
more
la
Trace.
Puss in Boots. I think a la Puss in Boots story.
Like
I
Puss
think
in
that would
Boots,
be a better way
kinda,
to go.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that moment, there's this. If I'm really into something that happens in a movie, I end up clapping. And it's not like the clapping after a movie, where I think it's great that we have invented tiny enough microphones to record that and beam it directly to the director of the film so they know how much
It's
you
why we all
appreciate
do it.
it.
It is why we all do it, Devin.
I know it is. I understand that. But it's just like that solid it's like I'm giving myself a high five because I can't actually high five the movie. That's how I would explain it. The most recent one was I saw Game Night last week.
Nice.
And something that they set up in the very first scene ends up being a huge part of like the climax. and it was perfect. And I high-fived myself 3 times because it was excellent. And when Trace came out, I high-fived myself in Ferdinand because it was such a great moment. And that moment of all these, of the ones that I've seen, is the moment that sticks out when I look at this list of nominees.
Excellent, man. All right, so we're just going to wait on Jeff really quick. And
so,
does that answer? Oh, good.
I left Ferdinand before that scene came up because I found that movie so damn obnoxious. Because here's the thing, it's like Ferdinand is a movie about, flaunt like the things that you're supposed to be. And, if someone says you're supposed to be like this or that, with these things that people allegedly think are masculine or feminine or whatever, these things, don't worry about that. Do the things that you like to do, all right? And then they go, so we're flaunting stereotypes. And then we have a Scottish stereotype. And then we have a bunch of German stereotype horses that literally, if this was made in the 90s, would literally be saying, now if this is the time, it's sprockets for every dance. So it's like, all right, like, we don't really have a heart in this. I did like Ferdinand better than Coco, which I thought Coco was actually just plain atrocious. And probably the biggest misstep that Disney has made since The Good Dinosaur, probably. It's not as bad as that. The Good Dinosaur was like, unbearable. So, like, in Coco, it's about this family who has, their patriarch leaves them, and thus he is basically, like, unpersoned from the family. His picture is not allowed on the ofrendo and everything else, and thus they also, the great-grandmother has, like, banned music from the family, to the point where it's not even, don't put on the radio, don't do anything like this. And I'm like, when the little kid has his moment where they smash his secret super guitar and he runs away, I'm like, no, kid, I'm with you. And normally with the Disney movies, it's not like that. Even Brave, it was like, no, Merida's being kind of a bitch right now. So both of those movies stink. So if it has to go between Ferdinand, Coco, and Boss Baby, I'd rather go to the Boss Baby, because then I can just watch the world burn. Because screw everything. The Boss Baby is a terrible movie, like legitimately galling and awful, with only one laugh that I remember, which is that part in
Was it when he was a puppy and he was running around and then he bit that dude? That was so funny. Oh.
No, it was not that. My favorite part, it was the TV that the bodyguard guy was watching. He was watching a cooking show, and the Julia Child woman goes, "Oh, to make I can't do the voice. I'll have to do it differently. To make a good fried butter, there's one secret ingredient: margarine." And I laughed. That was the only time I laughed the entire freaking movie. So
Jeff, I have to tell you, your second attempt at a Julia Childs was very good. I'm very interested to hear what your better attempt would have been.
It would have been higher, because I can't reach any of my high tones right now because of my voice. So I'm going to hope that these Academy people still have a stick firmly in their ass and give it to the schmaltzy, falsy, artsy-fartsy, high-effort one, Loving Vincent. Because why the hell not? Like, I would really like to not see that thing get passed up. I don't know about the breadwinner. If the breadwinner wins, then whatever. But I don't want to see that movie, with all the effort they obviously put into it, no matter how bad it is, to be passed up for Ferdinand, Coco, or the Boss Baby. In the same way that, like, if they nominated Kubo and the Two Strings, which I also didn't like, I wouldn't want to see whatever it was that beat it. Like, if it was beat by The Good Dinosaur or something like that, that wouldn't be fair either. I think it was beat by Zootopia that year.
It was beat by Zootopia, yeah.
Okay, and Zootopia is better.
And I have to say that I want the Boss Baby to win because I want to watch the world burn.
Yeah. No, why the
We've
hell
established,
not? Yeah.
Jeff, you cut right to the quick about how this friendship works on the Say Report. All right, everybody. Now it's time to get the giggles out. We need to focus because it's time for the Big Six.
Oh, no.
All right.
Not the Big Sick, the Big Six.
Big Hero 6?
Oh, why'd you make me sad like that? Why'd you make me doubly sad like that? Man, you both.
Good. We've weakened Sejin. He'll be putty in our hands. So we're going to start with Best Director. We have Christopher Nolan for Dunkirk, Jordan Peele for Get Out, Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird, Paul Thomas Anderson for Phantom Thread, or Guillermo del Toro for The Shape of Water.
Okay, how are we doing this? We going?
Jump
we
in
doing
when
like we
you're
always
ready.
do?
Yeah. Just...
You guys go first.
I mean, I don't care what anybody else has to say. At this point on, you're going to hear a lot of me saying The Shape of Water.
Mm-hmm.
I can get behind it. I honestly can.
I mean, like, I have thoughts and feelings. I don't know if you want me to, like, get real deep into this, but at the end of the day, I think that
Are you going to say The Shape of Water for Best Picture? Spoilers?
But how often
I,
does the
I,
director ever make the best picture? Like that almost
I
never happens.
oh, I,
So like if I'm just saying like
I don't want to.
no, I know you don't
Don't
want to
have to
ruin it,
spoil
but
it.
if you have stuff to say, save it for then.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's because that's going to be the big conversation.
Shape of Water.
Okay.
For director. I'm just.
What do you think
there
it
it
is?
I'm going to go with Get Out. And that's just because, like you said with original screenplay, I think that they're going to want to honor him in some way, shape, or form. And I think the fact that he's a first-time director, but he's also a first-time director whose movie came out in February and
Yeah.
made enough of a lasting impression to
That is
get
still got
remembered
nominated.
for in award season. I
Yeah.
think that's huge.
That
And
is.
especially with
Get Out's going to win something.
Get Out is going to win
This is
something.
the one I was talking about when I said it's going to walk away with something. There's no way of everything. There's no way that gets shut out. Star Wars might get shut out. Blade Runner might get shut out. But there's no way Get Out gets shut out completely. It's going to win something. And if it doesn't,
God, I
I'd be appalled.
hope you're right. I wish I had the faith in the world that you currently seem to, because I'm worried. But
Okay,
I hope
this
you're
isn't
right.
about the fact that I think they're so progressive, whatever. They're going to give it to a person of color, director.
No,
I just think that
man.
they're going to throw it to him because, like, oh, we have to give something to the less fortunate and all these other minorities. We have to do something. Blah, blah,
I
blah,
love
blah,
that
blah.
the Academy is all of the white people in Get Out.
Yes.
So
But it's
that's the
beyond
reason he's
that,
going to
man.
get. That's the reason
It's
he's
the
going to
idea
get
that
it.
it has been so long.
Especially because they're not going to see
right.
themselves in those caricatures either. They're going to be, oh, those are the bad white people.
That's a
We're
whole,
not like
that's
that.
a whole other
Oh.
conversation to have
Yeah.
after we know exactly what happens. Once we see where all this stuff lies at the end of all of this, we can definitely have that conversation. But
Oh,
like
I was
for
going to
me,
say
it
that
is
it's going to
the
go to
idea
Get
that-
Out because Hollywood loves movies about itself. So they're like, remember when we talked about this? Pity the technology wasn't there.
Yeah, right.
Jesus.
Yeah, but I hope you guys are right, because of the fact that it has been since February, the fact that it is a first time director, the fact that it is about what it is about is all important reasons why I would love to see it win. But I'm sticking with Shape of Water because, God, that movie. All right, sorry, go ahead, Devin.
No, I've given mine. Jeff, what is yours?
I'm going to give it to Dunkirk because I think it's hard to say that Dunkirk is not probably Christopher Nolan's best directed movie. It's just a movie that just grabs
feels
you
really
and.
personal.
Oh, real quick, guys! Did you guys hear that? I got a Steam notification. I want to make certain that you
Nope,
didn't hear
I
that.
didn't hear it at all.
Cool. Okay, you can cut that part out if you like.
Nah, that requires
Dunkirk.
effort.
Oh man. So.
Dunkirk really feels like Nolan really doing something he wants to be doing, which is always a good
Yes.
get.
It was clearly a passion project, and the same thing with Volcano and Dante's Peak coming at the same time. We got two movies about the Dunkirk rescue and things like that, basically with this, and it's hard to say that Dunkirk isn't the better of the two. And Dunkirk is, I think it is just a very well directed movie, understated when it needs to be, but thrumming and engaging, and it's just like, okay, so I think this is the time he takes it. I think this is finally where he brings home some gold. Maybe not. I think it'd be really interesting if either Get Out or Lady Bird took it, because I believe they're both first time directors. I'm not positive about Greta Gerwig. Maybe she's not.
It is Greta Gerwig's first time directing.
The fact that we have two first times among three
Seasoned veterans, yeah.
seasoned veterans is pretty cool. The fact that I hope that both Jordan Peele and Greta Gerwig can write their own checks from here on out.
Well, Greta
'cause why
Gerwig
not?
being with Noah Baumbach, I mean, I don't want to say that the person she's with has done it, but he inspired her after they worked together on Frances Ha to not take any guff from Hollywood. So
Yeah.
and she has marched forward from Frances Ha to become a person that where people would say this is a known actress. Where that's just people who are in the entertainment industry who know movies who would call her a known actress. To John Q. Public, they probably don't know who Greta Gerwig is. So I think putting her on a main stage like this, she is already writing her own checks. It's just they're going to be bigger and seen by more people.
Yeah.
So is that where you're going with, man?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so
Cool.
he's going Dunkirk.
Dunkirk.
Excellent. Which moves us into supporting actress. We have Mary J. Blige for her performance in Mudbound, Allison Janney for her performance in I, Tonya, Leslie Manville for her performance in Phantom Thread, Laurie Metcalf for her performance in Lady Bird, and Octavia Spencer for her performance in The Shape of Water.
Okay,
I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off real quick here. And I'm going to say, Sejan knows this about me. Sejan, what is my favorite Greg Kinnear movie? Sejan? Do we lose Sejan?
This would be the worst time to do that.
Yeah, right?
No, sorry, you didn't lose me. I muted because I was coughing and I forgot to unmute.
Oh.
That's good because I was like making all sorts of comments while you guys were talking earlier. Now I feel like an idiot. Your favorite Greg Kinnear movie? I don't know. Isn't he in Sour Grapes?
No. Maybe just let me remind you from something from our past. We took a Cuban cinema class, and I related a film that we watched in that class to this movie.
Oh, man. I remember the Cuban cinema class. We watched that really weird one with Bill Murray in it, and what's his name made the bad
City.
guy in. Yeah,
the bad guy from Ocean's 11, Jeff.
The bad guy from Ocean's 11.
Nobody knows his name.
The bad guy from Max Steel.
Andy Garcia.
Shit,
man. What are we talking about, Greg Kinnear? Are you talking about
We're talking about Dear God.
Oh my God.
1994's
Yes,
Dear God. And I have been in love with Laurie Metcalf since she was on the Roseanne show as Jackie. And it's her first nomination, and her character in Lady Bird was all at once warm and despicable, and I want her to get it. I just want her to win so bad.
Yeah. And we talked about our love of Roseanne actually just last week, didn't we? Or maybe 2 weeks ago. Yeah, where we talked about like how on that show in the 90s, like it was a hell of a show to watch, and she was a huge part of that.
And she's a huge part of everything she's ever been a part of, and I just would like her to get the recognition I have always felt she deserved, that I have always awarded her. And I hope that being part of the Chuck Lorre verse, you know, he's just like, everybody vote for Lori, and that means that she gets that statue that she so rightfully deserves.
Yeah. I want to point out again that this is just such a tight race for me in this one because every single one of these are such great like supporting roles this year. Also, really happy to see a lot of really kind of happier comedic roles thrown in here. Allison Janney and Laurie Metcalf. Just over, you know, it's not usual that you get to see women not only nominated for this sort of stuff, but nominated for funny moments. With that in mind, Octavia Spencer, because she is kind of a darling, right, of the Oscars, right?
Mini
like
pie.
Yeah, exactly. Like you want to talk about somebody winning it for a funny moment. But no, Octavia Spencer for Shape of Water again. I think all of these guys do phenomenal. I mean, Mary J. Blige, I might just take it away just because this is the perfect Oscar nom for a musician trying their hand. You know what I mean? Like, so that might go to Mary J. Blige, but I'm going for Octavia Spencer because I just think she was phenomenal, and on top of that she's been here before and she knows how this goes.
Jeffrey?
Devin, you bring up performances from, you know, great performances from Roseanne veterans, but how could you forget the second Becky Connor, Sarah Chalk, you know? Which I kept
she's not nominated
into...
for supporting actress, Jeff.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I kept trying to look her up, and I kept
Let's see where he's going.
I kept typing in Sarah Clark instead of Sarah Chalk. I'm like, who the hell is this? That's not who I want. I want the girl from Scrubs. Wait a minute. What the? Okay, wasn't really worth the joke, but I don't have anything to say about this.
I'm sorry. Wait,
so
you got
I'm
the
going.
joke?
So I'm going for Leslie Manville in The Phantom Thread. I honestly don't remember if she was the woman who was like in love with him or his wife or whatever.
She was his
Either
sister.
way.
That's something I will say. I like that all of the supporting actresses this year were actually supporting actresses.
Yeah, and not
there's no Viola Davis as the female lead of Fences getting a supporting actress nod.
But on the other hand, that was another year where Gojira, basically, Meryl Streep, was nominated. So I think that she's probably fine to get the supporting nom because she got the actual statue. So it's the sort of thing where it's like the statue still made of gold, so I'm sure she's just happy to have it and to have the recognition or whatever, and be recognized for that role anyway. So it's all right, you know.
You're not wrong.
So I don't think she cares. That thing's still yellow.
Here we go, man.
Excellent. Supporting actor.
But still a lot of love out there for Mary J. Blige and Allison Janney because those two roles were
honestly,
so good.
The only reason I
went
with
anyway,
Laurie, I went with my heart, and my heart has always belonged to Laurie Metcalf. Yeah. Sorry, Allison Janney. CJ Shade just came along too late in my life.
Also, the Jackal. You don't win
You
for
can't
that.
forget
Anyway.
Oh man, we should do a West Wing podcast. Okay, supporting actor: Willem Dafoe in The Florida Project, Woody Harrelson in Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Richard Jenkins in The Shape of Water, Christopher Plummer.
Kevin Spacey.
Thank you. I didn't know how it was going to happen. Christopher Plummer in All the Money in the World, or Sam Rockwell in Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Okay, so before we get too deep into this one, all of them were secretly Kevin Spacey. Okay, obviously the Kevin Spacey, Christopher Plummer stuff, like that's a whole other world, right? Like that kind of rockets this one kind of out of this whole category for me. But we'll get to that in a second. Like again, this is just a bunch of guys just doing amazing work. I have a weird feeling about Sam Rockwell getting nominated for Three Billboards. Anybody else have any thoughts about that? You guys didn't see it, did you?
Oh, I saw that movie. Jeff didn't, and Jeff. If you thought it was going to be too violent or something, yeah. Like,
I know it's not too violent. It just
Yeah.
I just didn't get to it because one of the other ones just seemed kind of a bummer, and I was just sick. And I'm like, all right, whatever.
I love McDonough, so I made it a point to get a hold of the script in any way that I could, and then I saw what I could of it, and like, I don't know. The only one on this list that I'm going to say I can't really kind of hold up to the rest of them is Sam Rockwell, but also
you say that as I announce Sam Rockwell is the person that I'm backing as my choice in this category, and it is because, and semi-spoilers, Jeff, I'm sorry, but, you know.
I'll take off my headphones.
He is such a despicable human being in that movie.
Yeah.
You absolutely
Maybe that's what it is for
fucking
me.
hate him. You can't
Maybe
not,
that's
like,
what it is.
if you're a good person, if you have, like, any love in your heart, you don't look at that character and feel any sympathy towards him. And yet somehow, through his performance, in the end of that film, you're right there with him. Like, it totally changed my mind about a person who was fucking despicable and acting in such a way that, like, you wanted him to get his. And then he ends up getting his, and you're like, yeah, but you know what? He's a product of his own home life. He's a product of this job. He's a product of this town. And
it's what McDonough has always done really well, is he's taken despicable characters and given you a side of them that you weren't comfortable seeing, right? Like, I mean, that's what In Bruges is through and through. That's what McDonough's always been really good at, is taking those really gross parts of human nature and shining a kind light on them, which is, like, not fair in a lot of ways, but maybe that's exactly why I couldn't feel it for Sam Rockwell. Is like, as much as I just couldn't get behind that character, I feel like he struggled to play it because I think it was a really too complex to feel real. But at the end of the day, if you feel like it worked for you, maybe that's just me.
And I mean, like, I think also one of the reasons why it works for me is that, like, I'm a Sam Rockwell fan going way back. I'm looking like 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, leader of the Foot Kids Club. Like, he is so good in that, but then you look at him in things like The Way, Way Back. You look at him as Zaphod fucking Beeblebrox. And, like, even though that movie is not a great adaptation of the book, it's almost like, what's the point? He brings his own characterization to that.
He's the psycho in the Green Mile, right? Like that was where I think I remember him really.
Was he? Hang on. I was about to make a joke about the Green Mile, and then it turned out I was wrong. I was literally going to say, and then John Coffey went and spit up all the fries into his face.
Sam Rockwell's not he's not the other cop. He's the other prisoner that turns out to be a real scumbag.
Okay, is he the guy that they send out and he doesn't get the sponge on his head?
Yes, he ends up having a really horrible death because of what a douchebag he is. No, wait, maybe, or is it the dude with the mouse, the kind dude that ends up getting kind of screwed in the end? I think it is Sam Rockwell that gets. I think it is him.
I was thinking of Doug Hutchison actually because that's what I was thinking of Hutchison. And I was about to make a completely stupid joke. I'm glad the guy stopped me. I actually completely forgot he was.
Rockwell
I haven't seen it all the way through. I've seen the end. This is really it's just such of a downer, that movie.
But yeah, so moral of the story, I guess for me, Devin, I don't know where you said you're landing on Sam Rockwell.
This is a hard category for me. This is
Willem
a hard
Dafoe
one.
in the Florida Project. This is also the only time the Florida Project shows up, and I think that's a crime. So I kind of want to go that way, but I'm having a hard time getting off of Shape of Water. I really am.
I'm
going to do it. I'm going to say Willem Dafoe. I'm going to say
Willem Dafoe? Nice.
Yeah. No, I'm going Willem Dafoe.
I got you. The reason why is that the Florida Project, perfect movie until the last minute.
Really? Okay. All right.
Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, even for all its flaws and its missteps, it was consistent all the way through. And that is, at the end of the day, where it really shines for me.
Yeah, fair enough.
Jeffrey?
The one thing that Hollywood likes is a gimmick. I think that they're going to give, and also the other thing they like is giving it to elder actors who may not get another chance. My choice for Best Supporting Actor is Christopher Plummer for All the Money in the World.
I don't think you're wrong, dude.
Here's
I do have
the
to say.
thing, though. I didn't really like All the Money in the World because, I'll you get a couple of Dr. Peppers and me, I'll stick up for The Greatest Showman, because The Greatest Showman is so completely off the mark that it comes around and just being like, well, who gives a damn at this point? Well, this one's enough off the mark that it bugs me because of towards the end of it, like the fact that spoilers, and this is really how it happened, guys. It's not even really spoilers. The fact that Jay Getty passes away before the boy's rescued, that didn't happen. They were alive at the same time for a little bit of the whole thing, and part of the whole thing is the fact that his grandson called to thank his grandfather, but he wouldn't come to the phone. He was too busy, and that leaving that moment out for put in this other stupid moment where he pulls the painting off the wall and this other stuff. It's like, this is junk. But the fact of the matter is, Christopher Plummer played Jay Getty III in such a sympathetic way that I think it just undercuts part of what the movie was trying for the first time when it was played by Kevin Spacey, and when I'm sure he was just a giant ball of ice. In the sense that you wouldn't sympathize with this. But in this one, when you watch Christopher Plummer do the performance, you're like, no, I sort of get it. Like, I sort of get why this guy wouldn't do these things, and I kind of agree.
Yeah,
so
if there's a way...
this is a good performance that makes the movie worse, which is weird. But, I mean, that just shows how good it is. I honestly think he's got a chance.
If there's any way that I could ever see that movie with the Kevin Spacey cut and making sure that Kevin Spacey never saw a dime from it, like Netflix or something like that, like I don't think
it's necessary to have a public release for it, but I think giving it to film schools and such for them to study it, I think that would be interesting. And
see the way that Spacey did it versus Plummer.
I haven't filmed my top 10 list, but I have a thing where I talk about it in there. I'm just going to quote from that directly as close as I can from memory, which is just like Ridley Scott has gone out and said he probably isn't going to do anything with it. But I say I caution him from simply destroying the footage because he will then destroy the only remaining interesting thing about that movie with it. So, because the rest of the movie is just not that interesting. So
fair enough.
Can't disagree.
I don't think it needs a public release. I don't think we all need to see it. I'd be interested to see it, but I think for film schools, yeah, I would. I think that would
some TCM special, like 10 years from now, they've just put a couple of scenes out, right?
Yeah, something
I'd
like
be
that.
all about it. Yeah, even if it's not the whole movie, but just like a couple of scenes.
Yeah,
I agree. I think that you're not wrong, and it's something that we will watch and monitor, and we'll see going forward. But let's hit these last three. Let's hit them hard. Let's give it our all. For lead actress, we have Sally Hawkins in The Shape of Water, Frances McDormand in Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Margot Robbie in I, Tonya, Saoirse Ronan in Lady Bird, and Meryl Streep in The Post.
What's that? Meryl Streep, a nomination? Wait. You don't say.
How did you pronounce Lady Bird's nomination?
Saoirse? I'm not sure.
I believe it is Saoirse.
Saoirse?
Saoirse Ronan? The A-O-I becomes
Okay.
Saoirse
Ronan.
I believe that's how it's pronounced.
All right, cool. Thank you,
I had to look it up.
Apologize for saying it wrong. He says Siege and Serwick.
Jesus, yeah. I've been telling people how to pronounce my last name forever, and my last name has no tricks in it. It's not a maze.
Oh, Jeff,
it's
hi
there. It's an I followed by two consonants. They're the same one. How do you? Yeah, of course it's a long E, because this is friggin' the Iberian
It's Stephen
Peninsula.
Colbert's fault. Blame Stephen Colbert and move on.
Honestly, if that was around at the time and people were doing that on purpose, I wouldn't even mind. But this was way
where do you land on this?
On lead actress?
Yeah, where you land?
I'm going with Sally Hawkins. Because let's face it, Sally Hawkins, up until The Shape of Water, she is a character actress. So to take away the voice of a character actress and still have such a compelling fucking performance, she is the driving force of that movie. There's no doubt in my mind that Sally Hawkins wins this one.
You're stealing the words right out of my mouth. Like I don't know how to put that any more succinctly. Like
it must have been when Sally I was
Hawkins,
kissing
right?
you.
Well, here's the thing. Also is that I didn't recognize her, even though I'd seen her in a couple things before then. Like she was in the first Paddington. She's also in the second Paddington. And I didn't recognize her. I just, I was like, okay, I just didn't know who she was. And I was like, did they just cast a deaf woman in this part? The way they cast the deaf African-American actor for the father figure for Baby Driver, who was legitimately a deaf actor in the area or whatever, who they got. Because, her performance was that compelling in that, and not that I can read sign language, but it was just like, all right, this is good enough for me. So, but, well, I have to think for a bit, because I gave it to someone else for the moment.
Yeah, let me say something about Frances McDormand really quick, because the thing is that I love Frances McDormand. I mean, when I was a kid, I saw Fargo way too young and fell in love with like her and like everything that she was doing on screen. And like, so it's always hard for me to turn away from her. The fact that I so unabashedly said Sally Hawkins says something, because honestly, any other given day of the year, I would say Frances McDormand. And I think Three Billboards, I think, is some of her best work.
You know what? I think I'm going to go with Sally Hawkins too. I was going to give it to Margot Robbie, and if she wins, I'm going to feel like a dumbass. But the one thing that Hollywood likes more than character actors breaking out is young, beautiful ladies giving performances where they have to eat a lot of shit. Yeah. So Margot Robbie could take it. I don't think Saoirse Ronan is going to take it, but also she's 23 and been nominated 3 times. She's going to become the next Meryl Streep. Her career is set for a great long time. Her future is so
bright. She's going to be wearing shades at the 90th Oscars.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. And you know what? Here's the final like nail in the coffin of why Sally Hawkins is going to win it. She was nominated for supporting actress in 2014 for her role in Blue Jasmine, and it is night and fucking day between those two characters. Yeah. She is loud, she is brash, she is in your face. So this Academy already knows what she is capable of, and then seeing this, you have to reward back. That. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
All right, let's go to lead actor, beginning with the easy one. Timothée Chalamet in Call Me By Your Name, Daniel Day-Lewis in Phantom Thread, Daniel Kaluuya in Get Out, Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour, or Denzel Washington for Roman J. Israel Esquire.
Real quick, let's just put this out there right here, right now. Wouldn't it be friggin' weird if Denzel won an Oscar for a movie that nobody remembers and that nobody saw?
Yeah. Yeah, I know, man, right?
I didn't see Roman J. Israel Esquire.
I know. I don't know anyone who did. I'm pretty sure the first time I even was aware of it was when it showed up on a DVD on a Walmart rack. Like, and I might even be misremembering because it might not even be out on DVD yet.
It just like, went in and out and vanished.
Yeah, man. It almost feels like it was just kind of like a toss. Like, we just needed to find somebody this year, and there just weren't that many.
Well, I've heard it's compelling in it, but I've also heard the movie is bad.
I'm actually also part of the reason why we didn't talk about this a lot with supporting actor, but part of the reason why I was feeling so weird about Sam Rockwell was also because I almost was expecting him to get a lead actor nom for that one. I understand why he didn't, and I'm not saying that he should have or anything like that, but that's where I thought it was going. So like, I almost wonder if they just didn't know how to fill this 5th slot or something. I don't know. But Devin, I don't know. Where do you land, man? What are you thinking?
All right. Well, I picked one because I think it's the one who's going to win. But I do just want to give a shout out to Timothée Chalamet in Call Me By Your Name, because compelling, super compelling film. I loved his performance in it. And if you think that this is the same guy who is Lady Bird's second boyfriend, the one who takes her virginity, the one who is so callous and who is so paranoid. I thought all of us have seen it, right?
What? Seen what?
Lady Bird?
No, I never.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff.
I don't give a crap if I wanted
to
see it.
I didn't think you did. If people know that spoilers are going to happen on this episode.
No, I know, but for me, I'm just like, it's just like, I think Saoirse Ronan has this bad thing with me after Brooklyn, which was such a freaking.
Oh, she was so...
Yeah, she took a big dump in that bucket, which was, that was fine, but it's just, everything else is just like, I have 2 boys who like me. I have a support structure. Oh, what's going on? And this was
my life is so easy. I'm the luckiest girl in the world.
Pretty much.
Bad for me.
Yeah, this one I bet she's got a little bit more actual troubles, but it's just like, oh, I'm in high school. These problems matter. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Come on.
Problems matter.
One Tree Hill. But yeah, but I do just want to give him the credit, and he would be my front runner in this, just because. First of all, there is so much inbreeding in this Oscars. I cannot remember another time that happened. Like the son in Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. He was the guy in Manchester by the Sea, Lucas Hedges. He is Lady Bird's first boyfriend, who ends up being a homosexual and is only dating her to like try to feel normal, right? So you have those two performances that are night and fucking day. And then you have Timothée Chalamet, who is, he's foreign and he's discovering his sexuality and he's exploring growing up. And then you have him as this fucking dickhead in Lady Bird. So, like, because you got to see both of those, and most people saw Call Me By Your Name and Lady Bird, if they're being serious about their voting, I thought he have a real chance in this. But I have to go with my gut here. I have to go with what I think they're going to award, and that is Gary Oldman in The Darkest Hour. Because he is completely lost in Churchill. I didn't feel like I was watching Gary Oldman ever. I honestly thought Winston Churchill was on my fucking screen.
Yeah. What do you got, Jeff?
You go first. I want to see what you say.
I am torn. Darkest Hour is definitely where I think I'm going to land, like starting off with. But I got to be honest. Something right now in the moment, I'm looking at Daniel Kaluuya. Is that how you say his last name?
Oh, for Get Out.
For Get Out. And I'm wondering if maybe this is the weird thing, right? Maybe this is the Moonlight moment, right? Like last year when everybody was just so convinced it was going to be fucking be La La Land. And everybody was just so sure. Oh, man. I'm just wondering. But I think if we were doing what we did last year, where I said wants and all that stuff, I'd go with Get Out. But I think I have to go with Darkest Hour. I think that's just where it's going to go. I think you're right. I think he does a phenomenal job falling into that role. I won't be sad if he doesn't get it, though. Like, it's not such a phenomenal turn that I feel like he needs to get it, you know? But I think that's where they go. I mean, I almost could feel the same way about Daniel Day-Lewis. Like, he falls into that role like he does with every role. He really should just get it just like he always does. But I think Gary Oldman wins just by the sheer amount of makeup he had to put up on every day. You know, like the work he had to put in is more evident than anybody else on this list.
And they do award that often.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff?
Yeah, I might be doing the push. I'm picking Gary Oldman, too. He could easily get beat by Daniel Day-Lewis if they really wanted to. But Gary Oldman's performance was a little more showy. And again, Gary Oldman's a guy who has gone quite a while without getting anything. Mm-hmm. Even though it was a nomination for a long time, I think. And it's just like, but he's consistently giving the goods. And this time he's actually on. Like, he's even good in bad movies. He was pretty good in the RoboCop remake. But, you know.
No, he's one of those dudes that shows up to work. Like that's one of the things that people always say about Gary Oldman is like when you watch him on screen, you can tell he's doing something.
He's got to come up. I think I don't know if there's been a movie where he's just been like he can't find anything to do in it. It's just like it's like well, I got to do something.
Right. Yeah, even as Mason Verger in Hannibal, which is like the worst movie I can think of him being in, he at least brings something interesting to that film.
Well, I mean, he's playing a part he's never going to get to play again and whatever. With Mason Verger, but I think actually like he went uncredited for that.
He did, because he was the Man of 1,000 Faces. So as playing the man without a face, he didn't want to get credited. Like that was the whole thing behind it. But that's what I always think of as like it's weird that he's uncredited because it almost makes it feel like I didn't like working on this film, but it's more than that.
Mm.
All right, so now we're going to move ahead to the very last category, Best Picture, and the nominees are Call Me By Your Name, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, The Post, The Shape of Water, and Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. And
can I just say that is crapola that they don't find 10 nominees, that now the nominees are 5, up to 10, and almost every year they do 9. And it's like, if you're going to do, like, why have it be such a flexible number? That drives me crazy.
It bothers me, too, because they fought so hard to open up the pool. And then there's been, like, at least these last 2 years, there's only been 9. But the whole thing is because of the intricacy of how someone gets nominated for it. if there's a tie, they just get cut out.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's.
But the other thing is just the fact that, like, when there was 5 nominees, there was the ones like that's got no chance.
Exactly.
And it just like so it's just like it's just a lot of other things that just have no chance.
I cannot disagree with you more, Jeff. I mean, I can't agree with you more, Jeff.
Okay.
Sejan, do you have an opinion on this?
Oh man. I was hoping that when they announced that they were ever going to allow more nominees in, that we would get more of a girth of different types of movies and things like that. But really, all it's done is just kind of, like you guys have said, just kind of spread out the shit. Like it hasn't really helped movies that I thought needed it get elevated in any way. Like it's awesome that we got a movie like Get Out on this list like this year, and The Shape of Water even feels like it's kind of a dark horse to come in. But if it was only 5 nominees, I don't think those 2 would be on it. 3 Billboards might be in that same boat.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I feel like it does open up to certain things, but it's still the award season-esque films.
Yeah, it is definitely still those films. It's not like we've introduced The Hangover Part 4 into the Best Picture nom, right? Like that's just not going to happen. But yeah, so like Devin, like, do you have an idea of where you're landing? Do you want me to go first? What do you feel?
All right, so here's the deal. 2017, as far as I'm concerned, was the shittiest year in movies in a long time. Right? Like, there were some fun popcorn things. Like, I really liked Logan. I laughed at Baywatch again. That's because of the Zac Efron bias. Like, there were things that I enjoyed in 2017, but overall, it felt like a weaker year. And the only evidence you need is that I saw so few movies in 2017 because there was just nothing that was getting me out to the actual cinema. Nothing, like, really inspired me. And the ones that I missed that I've since watched at home, like Snatched or I watched The House, I'm like, I made the right decision not wasting my time and my gas to go out to the cinema to see these films. And another evidence is, looking at the Best Picture nominees, here's some spoilers, right? Like, for real spoilers if you haven't seen them. I'm happy that you've both seen The Shape of Water, because the only thing that I could think of when Sally Hawkins made love to the fish man was Howard the Duck, when Howard the Duck has sex with Beverly, and everybody's like, this is gross, how is this a movie?
They don't actually have sex in that movie. They it's PG, remember, so they stop ahead of time. They do pull out his little tiny duck condom from his wallet, and at the time it's like, what are we doing here? But I believe that they refrained beforehand, right? Or maybe I just ran out of the room before they really got down.
Well, they heavily imply that they made love. They make love in a PG setting.
I'm sorry. Did you just try and compare The Shape of Water to Howard the fucking Duck?
I'm just saying, Sejan, and here's all I'm saying.
Ducks and lizards, they float on the water.
But that's what I thought in the back of my head. And now a movie that addresses bestiality, granted, you got to consider the context and everything, is nominated. But the one that is more than that, the one that means more, is that in Call Me By My Name, which is this beautiful celebration and examination of a 15-year-old boy coming to terms with himself as a growing man, his sexuality, and what that means, there is a scene where he fucks a peach. Hand of God takes a peach, Call Me By My Name, he takes the pit out, and then he fucks
Biggs
it.
did it.
And that's it. And I hate to be like, Simpsons did it about it, but all I could think is Jason Biggs fucking an apple pie in American Pie. And how
but it wasn't a peach pie.
That's good point, Jeff, right? You've completely derailed my argument.
Peaches have those fuzzy things on the outside of them. That way you can just sort of, like, just rub it up against you and be like, ooh, fuzz, you know?
But my point is, it just seems so strange to me in this year that things from cinema that are, like, so derided and so often pointed at as, oh, like, what is that? Like, Jason Biggs will never be remembered as anything but the dude who fucked the pie, or Howard the Duck almost destroyed the film industry. And now, like, those same things have come forward and are in movies that are being recognized as Best Picture. And it's not that I'm upset about it. It's kind of cool just where we've come progressively as a people. But it also speaks to the breadth of movies that were available to fall into the Best Picture category this year, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I will say that, and this dovetails nicely into my feelings and thoughts about the Best Picture stuff. I feel like the idea, like the Howard the Duck stuff, for instance, and like falling on that with The Shape of Water. I think what it is that they're both pulling from a very tropey, like heartfelt place that people love, and that is the Beauty and the Beast storyline. And what's really funny to me is like that idea of like the beautiful young woman with the horrific male character of some kind, and what it is that the love that they find and how it changes that both of them, right? Like that whole story, it's a Beauty and the Beast story. That's what Shape of Water is through and through. And in a weird way, it is exactly what Howard the Duck is, at least for that subplot, right? But like the funny thing to me, and the thing that I couldn't help but come away with after looking at this list, is that the movie that I loved this year was The Shape of Water, a Beauty and the Beast story that out Beauty and the Beast Disney redoing Beauty and the Beast this year.
That's a good point. You make a very good point, Sejan.
I kind of looked at The Shape of Water and I realized that like the reason that I love it so much is that it is taking all of that traditional storytelling that we love and just distilling it into this beautiful new experience. So like it doesn't feel like an old story, even though it is one, and it just does it so well. And basically it's Guillermo doing what he does best, telling a story that he wants to tell, a story that he probably heard a million times in his life, and this is him doing his own spin on it, and doing it with all of the like toys that he has at his dispense, like as is evidenced by all of the beautiful makeup and cinematography and all that. Like it's just everything that he loves doing about movies being put on screen. And if that's not what makes a Best Picture for a year, I don't know what does. I agree that this has been a tough year for movies. I'm not saying that Shape of Water held up against 1,000 other Best Picture noms and Best Picture winners would ever be the best one of the best, but it definitely this year distilled that feeling of movie-making magic down to its core in a way that I don't think any other movie on this list it got close to.
So you're going to go with Dunkirk?
Yeah, I think I'm going to land on Shape of Water. You know, I want to give a shout out to the other ones. You know, Get Out specifically. I think that Get Out is also a filmmaker putting his heart on his sleeve and going out there. But I think the thing about Shape of Water is that just divorcing both of them from their messages, like, because Get Out, I think, is a really important film over Shape of Water, which I think is also important for its own reasons. But, like, I think Shape of Water succeeds above all else.
I can get behind that. I guess for mine, I didn't really give my answer. I pointed that stuff out.
I was sort of wondering. I was like, wait a minute, did I miss it?
No, you didn't, no. But no, one other anecdote, and Jeff, I'm really happy that we were able to have you on the show. Thank you very much for coming out. Phantom Thread was a movie that I liked. I enjoyed my time with Phantom Thread. And Jeff and I saw that one together. Jeff and I see a lot of movies together. That's why he's here. And a diametric difference between Jeff and I is I love to watch the credits. I feel like it's part of the experience. And I know Jeff doesn't necessarily love to do that, but he does it for me. So thank you for that as well, Jeff.
Well, sometimes you're my ride, so sometimes I don't really have a choice. They'd be like, later, sucker, I'm going to walk out to your car and sit there.
The truth comes out.
Stand right next to your car and just wait like a dog. Just it's raining out. And it's been like, were you happy seeing who the best boy was? Your best boy was out here getting wet?
Oh. I think he's about to.
No, I mean, like, usually I just believe it because most things don't do a scene at the end or whatever. And most of the times if I'm alone, I'm catching a bus to get friggin' home.
And that makes sense.
Make it different.
I do think he's trying to reference that Dunkirk mid-credit scene, though. You know, the one where Yondu comes out on the boat.
I was actually going to reference something a little bit more personal, and that's during the Phantom Thread while we were waiting for the credits, right? While I was reading the credits, Jeff did something that he does, and it's not something I have no problem with it. I actually love that you do it because it's something that I do the next day, but you do it immediately, and you jump right on IMDb for trivia, and you told me what inspired the Phantom Thread.
Yes.
And I think we've talked about it before on the show, but in case you missed it, Maya Rudolph is the wife of Paul Thomas Anderson. And while he was sick, he saw a love from Maya that he had never before like realized or experienced. So he wanted to make a movie about that, and that totally changed what the Phantom Thread was for me. Because it's such a weird impetus.
My thing with the Phantom Thread was the fact that the whole time I thought it was based on a true story, just because that just tends to be the sort of crap that gets nominated for this stuff. So I was like, all right. So I was looking up to see, okay, what was the real story? Wait, it was entirely made up. So it shows what I know.
Yeah.
But so I watched the entire thing thinking it was at least partially true when it wasn't. It was entirely made up.
Yeah, but I did want to tell you, I liked that moment, but it's so interesting how knowing the truth or that like really changed that film for me. But then without any further diatribes or detours, for Best Picture, you know, it's probably not going to win. I'll be very surprised and very happy if it does. But my money is on Lady Bird, and that is strictly because of all the films here, that is the one I want to see again. And I know that because I've seen it twice already. I haven't seen any of these other ones twice. And I don't think I can, and I'm not excited to see any of them a second time. But I'd watch Lady Bird for a third time right now.
All right, man. Jeff, what do you got?
All right. See, this is my thinking on the whole thing. Recently, someone had pointed out in a commentary video that they made about 2006 Oscars, when it was, if I remember correctly, it was Munich, Brokeback Mountain, Good Night and Good Luck, something else I don't remember, and then the fifth movie that was nominated was the one that won. Do you guys remember which one it was?
2006.
2006.
And it wasn't Brokeback?
It was not Brokeback, it was not Munich, it was not Good Night and Good Luck.
It wasn't The Departed, was it?
It might have been Departed, might have been the fourth one that was nominated. I honestly don't remember.
The Departed won.
Okay, so it
wasn't The Departed.
No.
I like saying Departed.
It's widely considered to be one of the worst movies to win.
Oh, Crash.
Best Picture. There we go.
That's
that
2004.
made it pretty easy. 4 it was, then my bad. So, Crash, this movie that people, even at the time, turned their noses up at, still won. And the reason why this particular commentator attributed to it was because Hollywood likes movies about racism that attribute racism not to systems, but to individuals. And so that's why I don't think Get Out will win. And I think the winner will be Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I am
very nice.
Absolutely confident that that is the way they're going to do it, and that's what's going to win. I would hinge my entire ballot on that one thing. That's why I wanted to go last.
It's hard to argue with that, actually. That is a really astute point.
Very solid argument.
Like, that is one of the big problems with Three Billboards is the way that it addresses racism is not...
it's not about it being a system. It's about individuals. Right. And look, individuals make up systems. But again, it's just one of these things where it's easier to break it down if you blame it on individuals rather than systems. It's easier to feel like you're not a part of it.
And there's a lot to be said about, like, I mean, McDonough being not only white but also Irish, like not from this country, not having that kind of understanding. Again, there's a whole bunch of stuff about that people talk about with Three Billboards right now.
Well, we've had plenty of movies about American experiences made by foreigners who frankly did not know what they were talking about, which is fine. It's up to them. We're big. We can take it. But that just is something else that happens.
No, I think that there is something to be said in that direction, but I think that you're right in the way he handles it is easy to swallow, whereas Get Out, it's hard to, because it does mean reflecting back on ourselves. And on top of that, the idea that it is also systematic, so there isn't a face to put to the evil, right?
Yeah. Even though it is, even though in Get Out it is attributed to individuals, it is about a system. It is about a way of life and things like that. So maybe Get Out will actually take it, but I mean, the fact of the matter is, and honestly, like, Get Out is simply much easier to watch because it's all the subtext and stuff that puts us in. On its face, it's basically just a sort of turns into a slasher movie by the end, except that you're rooting for the slasher to a certain extent, and all these symbols are used against them and things. So I think Get Out's terrific, but I don't think it's going to get it for this reason. And that's why I'm voting for Three Billboards, even though I haven't seen it. But my understanding of the movie is that, and that's what I'm going for. I'm
Yeah,
fairly
man.
confident.
It is an astute observation about that work. All right, man.
I give all credit, and I am just super happy that none of us went with The Post. Because
The
I
Post
want
has
that
no
movie to be
chance.
forgotten.
Yeah. If
To
The
the
Post
annals.
gets it, it will be probably one of the most forgettable movies to win. Like, yeah, I don't think The Post is actively bad, like Crash, or to some people say, like, what's some other one people say are kind of bad, like Gladiator,
Perfect
Moonstruck.
Mind was
Perfect
another.
Mind was sort of another.
A Beautiful Mind?
Beautiful Mind.
Beautiful Mind. Perfect. What is it? A perfect mind
Storm.
is the perfect storm and a beautiful mind together. I'd
Well,
watch the fuck
hurricane,
out of that movie.
The hurricane isn't real. Yeah.
It's all just math in their heads,
It's
man.
all just math in our heads. Oh, okay. So that's it. We have taken up a lot of your time. Jeff, thank you so much for coming by, being on the show.
Yeah, really.
Do you have anything you want to plug or share with the listeners?
Well, like since I've been sick for like an entire month, and barely was good enough to do this, and I'm glad I was. I have a YouTube channel, my own thing, at King Cool 2099, spelled with a K, and I hope to get back to streaming over at Lost Soul Limit. Hopefully, maybe next week, just because I haven't been able to do it because of my voice and because I've been too sick. Hopefully, we'll pick that back up, and hopefully, I will do a top 10 list. Again, except I'm getting knocked way back because of illness, but otherwise, keep spreading the tapes,
Hey, man, I'm just glad we were able to be one of the first ones to get you back. I'm happy.
I'm very happy that you were well enough to do this, Jeff, because you really did add that third face that this discussion really needed.
Yeah, I would have been kind of bummed if I couldn't have done this. So
thank you so much for being a part of it, and I'm sure it's not the last time we're going to invite you to the show. Until then, I am Devin Decker. I am currently working on my Oscar menu and am still in need of foods related to 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. And, sorry, I know this one. I'm looking at it. I should be able to say it. Dunkirk, maybe? I don't have one for Dunkirk. I don't know.
How about 3 bologna? Oh, you can take like some bread and then put 2 pieces of bologna outside of it. Or put 3 pieces of bologna outside of it and go to 3 bolognas outside Ebbing something. Make a pun about bread for Ebbing, Missouri.
That's not bad. But also, if you have anything that you want to shoot me, I am on Twitter at Devin D. Decker. I'd love to hear it. And it is. I just checked my own menu that I've been writing up. Ebbing, Missouri, and Dunkirk is what I don't have items for yet. So
All
I'd
right,
love
check
to
this
hear
one
what you
out.
got. I'm listening.
3 Benedicts outside Egging, Missouri.
That's not bad.
It's not bad, but I feel like I'm going to probably end up doing eggs for Shape of Water. As much as I just want to do
that is
key
a fair
lime
one.
pie.
No, that's
I feel like key
that
lime
is
pie
fair.
is a little bit better, but it's kind of a deep cut. But either way, if you want to talk about what you heard here or give me anything, I am at Devin D. Decker on Twitter. Siege?
And I am at Siege versus the World, so if you get any good food puns, don't be afraid to send those my way.
Alrighty. And all of our choices will be posted on our Facebook page, so you can look and follow along and see who chose right and who chose wrong.
Yeah, and you make your own choices and see who you can beat.
Yeah, right? I think you could beat Siegen. I'm just going to throw it out there, right? So come on, Will. That's your challenge. End this episode, then make your ballot. Peace, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devin Decker and Siegen Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.